And welcome, race fans, ladies and gentlemen, to the Michigan International Speedway and the virtual iRacing Simulator for the 19th round of the 11th season of the Bandit Racing League, presented by Full Send Racing Network. Hi, everybody. I am, as always, your host, Mr. Marshall Crocker Jr. Alongside me tonight in the booth, as usual, is Chris Ferreira. First of all, we want to thank our sponsors here that allow us to put this event on here tonight in the Michigan 125, presented by 785 Racing Team. We got Perfect Shine Auto Spa we want to rep tonight, as well as Apex Sim Racing, your place for all things sim racing merchandise. It's going to be a fun one tonight here at the virtual 2-mile Michigan International Speedway. Again, joining alongside me tonight, Marshall Crocker Jr. I am, as always, your producer and main host here on the channel, but we got Chris Ferreira, as usual, joining us in the broadcast booth. And boy, oh boy, Chris, is this one that I've had circled on the calendar for a little bit. I love these tracks with a unique distance, a unique length, and Michigan, the big 2-miler, one of the only two we run on the calendar alongside Auto Club. It's going to be a really, really fun event tonight. This is a track that always creates some fun racing, some fun finishes, and, well, there are big stakes in the playoffs. So, Chris, you ready to go tonight? Are you feeling excited to get some action here at Michigan?
Oh, yeah. I think if I'm looking at this round of playoffs outside of Bristol, this was probably the one I was most excited for. There's just so much going on at this track. There's some good tire degradation here. There's some high speeds, and obviously the big thing here is the multiple racing grooves, right? So this is going to race a lot similar to Auto Club, as we did right before we got into the playoffs, and we saw the finish we got there. So hopefully we'll have another one of those in store, and this one should be a really good one.
We got a lot of excited fans in the chat already, and I see a lot of fans of Cody Welch, who is tonight's race sponsor on behalf of himself and Benjamin Lacey for 785 Racing Team. Benjamin Lacey and Cody Welch making up one of the, if not the premier racing teams in Bandit Racing League. They are tonight's sponsor here at Cody Welch's home track of Michigan International Speedway, and that's why he's definitely going to be a big talking point, and of course always has his fan base here in our Bandit Racing League procedures. He's just been such a long time storyline of the series. We obviously we talk a lot about that streak that's going on about 2 years now, that he's come so close to breaking so many times, including here at this very racetrack. Has a career second place finish, but has never won in his home race in Bandit. A driver that I do want to just touch on here early before we get in. A guy that's running really well here in practice, and I want to shout out early on, Jason Greenwell as well. I think one of the iconic moments I remember from this series is the last lap. It was 2 seasons ago. Last lap, going into turn number 2 on the final lap, he had the lead, made a big aggressive move to go for the win, accidentally got caught in a wreck and ended his chances. But this is the closest he's ever come to a win, and I want to give him his flowers because he's running well here in practice. He's run really well here in the past, and I like talking about those guys that are really good at a track that maybe they don't always get their respect for. So that is obviously going to be a big storyline. We'll keep an eye as well on Jason Greenwell. But first of all, Chris, we got to talk about our little graphic here for the Bandit Racing League bracket heading into tonight's race here. So looking at our standings after last week's race, our incredible race at Bristol, in which Nickerson, out of nowhere, picks up a win in a race that we had all but written him out 50 laps prior to the win. And he is, as a result, punched into the playoffs for the Championship 4 race at Homestead, provided he can run every race this round, which hopefully he should be able to. Behind him, though, is his teammate Ricky Hart Jr., who came very close to the win there at Bristol. He comes in 8 points to the good above the cutoff line for the top 4. Benjamin Lacey will be running in the third spot here tonight as we go into tonight's event. He has 7 points to the good above the cutoff line. After that, we got Mark Allen Bivens, who sits 5 spots above the cutoff line there in the 4th position. Really, really good job for the young driver in the number 76. Incredible job he's done this season. Would be great to see him make his first Championship 4 appearance. After him, Eddie Hagge, a driver I was worried wouldn't make tonight's race, is just hopping into the session as we speak. So all 8 championship drivers in the playoffs are present and racing tonight. He is 5 points below the cutoff line, first driver in that spot, and he's ahead of a number of former race winners and former very talented finishers in Christopher Hamilton right behind him at -6. So GFR, 2 drivers in the bottom 3, they'll try to get those out tonight. The other being Kevin Foster, the last driver currently in the playoff contention, sitting 13 spots back. Then Brett Guzik, the guy who almost won last week's race, Chris, he was dominant and somehow comes out of it with a -12 here tonight going into tonight's race. He's got a gap to make up, and he's a guy I want to talk about here a little bit, Chris. I want to shine a light here on Brett Guzik because we've talked a lot about Brett here over the course of the season. Obviously, former champion of the series. There's good reason that we do. But I think tonight specifically, Chris, I think Brett needs to get back and not the winner's column necessarily, but just back to the good finishes. You know, you look at his last couple races since his win at Darlington and his second at the Roval the week before. He's run 14th, 17th, and last week I know he was, you know, he had that race. He was dominant. He was great all the way through, and then at the end gets involved in that late wreck, and that's what puts him out of contention. But then an 18th in the end last week. I think he's just got to buckle down tonight, focus on the big picture. I think he just needs a good finish to get back into the, you know, into a comfortable state to make the championship four for the third time. What say you in that front?
Yeah, I would say, you know, he doesn't necessarily need to win, just like you had said there. I think that he just needs to run strong, and if I think of tracks that really suit his driving style and his knowledge of racing, it's a track like this. High tire fall off. This is going to be a bit of a fuel mileage race, I believe, as it was in years past. So I think this is right up his alley. He just has to not beat himself. I don't foresee him in a bit of bad circumstance here unless he does something wacky in qualifying. But I think he'll run well tonight, and that's exactly what he needs. I don't think any of these guys are in you know, hot water yet. Even Kevin Foster, who's just behind Brett in points. I think tonight with the smaller field, it'll be a little bit more manageable. Obviously, everybody needs to come home with a good finish. You're going to need people in front of you to have some mistakes, but I'm not in panic mode yet for anybody.
And so looking at tonight's racetrack, the style of racing we have, a 2-mile venue here at Michigan International Speedway. Again, it's the third longest track on the calendar this season. It's the second longest race by miles, only shorter than Talladega. So it is definitely going to be a racetrack where attrition and the ability to run these long stints on tires especially is going to be crucial. So referring to that, what kind of racing do you think we should expect here at a track with those characteristics? And then maybe tie that into who is your pick for tonight? Who do you think will play this racetrack style quite well?
So I think of Michigan, and I think that comes to me as speed, right? So the very big straightaways, you're carrying a lot of speed. It kind of shares similarities with Auto Club. Just the radius is tighter in the corners here. So with that being said, with the tire degradation, all that, I'm going with Benjamin Lacey. You know, he was the winner at Auto Club, his home track, and this is a track that I think that suits him very well. He doesn't necessarily need a super good performance tonight, but I just think that this is one of those places where he'll end up front and quite possibly dominate the race.
Yeah, I think domination at this point in the playoffs is what we've kind of seen. We just had guys like Brett did last week, like we saw Nick do at the Roval in the first round. We saw it frequently in the first round. It was just races where guys would just be on top. One guy would seem to have the control of the entire field, and then oftentimes something would go wrong and they'd be taken out of that position. So I think that's going to be the lesson for a guy like Lacey. If you have speed early on, make sure you just stay consistent, stay dialed in, think about the big picture, and watch out for those mistakes rather than trying to run the absolute most blistering pace you can from lap 1 to 125. In terms of somebody that I think can do that I think can race manage, my race pick for tonight, he's not on track right now. He ran his practice laps earlier. But Ricky Hart Jr., driving the number 1 car. He's second in the points right now, really favorable position. He's got a little bit to drop. He can afford to lose some positions tonight in service of the longer goal. And I think he's a guy that I think he likes winning. And I think his early season, like season 8 sort of persona for the rest of the league, was a guy that did consistently win, that maybe equal parts to a Nick Nickerson, his teammate. Is a guy that could just go out there week after week and rack up those wins. Hasn't so much done that the past few years, and I think tonight could be a really good track to get back in the winner's column. He's a guy with experience. He's a guy that knows how to conserve, and I think tonight's a race that could play into his hands. I'm going to go with the 1 car tonight as the guy that I think will take home the checkered flag and make for 2 GFR racing cars in the final 4, which would most certainly be a good start to the season for them. So I just want to give you guys a preparation of sorts. So here is going to be the live graphic we'll show throughout the race for the current playoff positioning relative to the cutoff line. So this will show you on the lap that is posted above the graphic exactly where we sit in the overall playoff order. What drivers are to the good, what drivers are to the bad, and where we would be if drivers finish where they do during the race. We'll try to keep it updated for you guys as much as possible throughout the event, but we just want to add that extra layer of interactivity so you guys always know what's going on and you guys can keep up with where the playoffs sit. We just want to give you guys kind of a visual to go through. So you see there on the right, Nick Nickerson punched in the gold check mark, implies that he has already won and thus is locked into the round of 4, but 3 more spots in the green there up for grabs. And now we are into qualifying. We're actually going to keep up with qualifying here tonight a little bit. Sometimes we don't, but tonight we will. Going to go for a ride along here with Mark Allen Bivens. Going to go to his onboard perspective. here for a lap at Michigan International Speedway, get you guys ready for tonight's event. So the Blytheville, Arkansas native is out and ready to go, and here we go. Chris, you want to just walk us through a lap here and talk about kind of what you as a driver would be prepared for and how this track is going to change over the course of, well, 125 laps, but over the 27-ish lap fuel stint we'll see tonight?
So as far as qualifying goes, a little bit of a caveat here tonight. Accidentally made a mistake in the session. There's only a 1 lap qualifying, so that's actually huge for a track like this, where you kind of build upon each lap. Your second lap is going to be your fastest one. So tonight, it's going to be really important you get up through the gears, get the power down, and get a lot of speed going when you're exiting pit road, because your first lap, as soon as you hit that line, you're going to be timed, and that's going to be where you qualify. But to get back to the track here, you're going to see a lot of guys in their qualifying lap probably try to hug that yellow line, that bottom seam. That's where you're going to see a lot of speed. Granted, in the race, I think that you're going to see guys migrate towards the top and channel that momentum up top, kind of like we saw at Bristol last week, because you could just carry so much more speed down them straightaways. But just the key thing here, you can kind of see how wide this track is with the car on the track. You could fit maybe 4 cars wide here at Michigan International Speedway, and that's huge. When I've been here and races past the Bandit Racing League, it always comes down to the last couple laps, and you're fighting with 3 or 4 guys for a position, and it's just a matter of who has the most momentum, who can utilize the draft the best, and who can pull off that move without wrecking everybody.
Would you almost compare this to kind of, I feel like it really is a hybrid between an auto club and, as we see Nick Nickerson come across the line here, currently Hamilton, the pole sitter. Nickerson going to jump to the top of the board here, take it over from his teammate, GFR top 3, followed by Haggy. But yeah, in my personal experience, I kind of compared this to like an auto club with kind of Daytona sprinkled in there, and the way that the draft plays a key role. And I think it is a little bit easier overall in the longer stint than I find auto club to be, but still the draft and even tandeming and starting to get those bumps towards the end of a race on a shorter stint, like after a caution. I think it really is a hybrid between those race types, and that's why I think, to a lesser extent than obviously Talladega and Daytona would have been, but I think team play here could definitely be a factor here late.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think we saw a little bit of that at Auto Club with the 785 guys working together, of Cody and Benjamin Lacey. I think that you'll see that here a little bit tonight. I'm interested to see with this package how far away they can get from each other. Based on the couple laps that I ran in practice, it seems as though just based on the tire fall off, you will see guys start to separate. You won't see that pack racing per se. So I think that you will see people team up and try to push each other along, but eventually the tire fall off is going to be so great that with the car behind, they're just not going to be able to keep up with that lead car. So it will be all for everybody's going to be for themselves, but keep in mind, if we do get a green-white checkered or something like that, a late race yellow, you're going to see people find a buddy and see what they can do.
Here we go, coming up to the line. Here comes Kevin Foster, your second to last finisher in tonight's qualifiers. Mark Allen Bivens starts his first lap, but it looks like we're going to have a 20-car field minimum here tonight at Michigan. Here he comes across the line. Going to go Foster to P7, so currently the top 8 all playoff drivers only split up by Cody Welch here in the 6th position. And I think that's really a change. We'll see where Mark Allen Bivens, the final playoff driver here, goes, but I think that's going to be interesting here tonight, Chris, because we really haven't seen the playoff guys bail too fast in qualifying tonight, all within the top 8 positions. That's going to be a big change here as we see Mark Allen Bivens, Blytheville, Arkansas native, had some trouble there in his warm-up lap. We saw him hit the wall. Here he comes. Where will he run in his proper attempts? Going to go P2, front row for Mark Allen Bivens, your final playoff contender, and running a really strong lap time there, Chris. So big statement made there by the young driver in the 76 car. So playoff guys, 8 out of the top 9, only split up by Cody Welch. We could argue the best driver not in the playoff order right now. So there you go. Going to be a change of pace tonight as far as the playoff guys qualifying.
Yeah, and then 5 thousandths off of the pole sitter Nick Nickerson there. That is a very impressive lap out of the young driver there, Mark Allen Bivens, who needs a pretty decent run tonight. So like I said, no one's in hot water yet, but one guy that you would have thought was in hot water, Eddie Haggy, didn't show up to the pre-race practice. Came out and qualified P5, so very impressive lap out of him for someone that didn't even get to warm up.
Yeah, and Eddie Haggy, a guy we've talked about lately, Chris, but he's just been putting in the work to get those really good qualifying performances, and he ran at the front all day last week at Bristol. Guy's just looked stellar. He's really kicked it into another notch for the playoffs, and I think we always have that one guy here in the Bandit Racing League every year that really kicks it into another gear come playoff time and makes the Final Four. We'll see if that's Eddie this year, but here we go, folks. Perfect Shine Auto Spa starting lineup here tonight, presented by Perfect Shine Auto Spa. We'll get you in your starting grid for this evening's race, and your pole sitter, the season race wins leader, your winner from last week's race at Bristol. Give him everything you want as far as accolades. He's a two-time champion. He is looking for to win number 2 of the round here, folks. It is Nick Nickerson, the Phoenix, Arizona native, on the pole here tonight at Michigan. And goodness gracious, what a season he's had so far. Starting alongside him on the front row is going to be Mark-Allen Bivens. Really good performance there from the driver of the number 76 here. Again, bumping his stock up here in the playoffs, as you have to do. The P's are missing from both Hart and Hamilton on row number 2, but I assure you they are both in the playoffs. 2 GFR Racing teammates. Christopher Hamilton in the 15 starts on row number 2. Another good quality performance from him. Ricky Hart Jr. starts in P4, my race pick for tonight. Eddie Hagge going to start in the 5th position, number 97. Again, didn't run laps in practice. We'll see how much effort he's put in this week. Benjamin Lacey there for 785 Racing, one of tonight's race sponsors, on behalf of Cody Welch and the whole Bandit Racing League. The 785 guys sponsoring tonight's race. We'll see how the sponsor drivers in 6th and 7th do as Cody Welch rolls off the inside of row number 4. Kevin Foster for GFR Racing will start in the 8th position in the number 8 car before Brett Guzik rounds off the top of 9 and is the final qualifying playoff driver, and he's all the way up in 9th position. Sean Britt then will round off the top 10. The number 98 car has had a really exceptional season so far this year. We'll see if he can get into the top 5 for the first time in a few races. Dawson Guzik, his first career top 5 in Bandit Racing League last week. We'll see if he can follow that up tonight with yet another. And finally, after him, we got Matt Crockett will round off your top 12. Knocking us down the grid a little bit, we got Nolan Gross, who was fastest in practice for most of the session, who will roll off in P13. Then Connor Gibson will start in the 14th position. Then Jason Greenwell, again, I said to watch out for him tonight. He's been fast at Michigan in the past, only 15th in qualifying, though. Paul Wilson then goes 16th before Bill Harkin starts off for row number 9 there, with David Lakey fastest in practice, all the way down in 18th here tonight. Hayden Paul then will start in the 19th position, the number 54 car for Ignite RC, followed by Steve Ulrich will round off the field tonight in the number 25 car. So there's your grid for tonight's race here at Michigan as we get started and get fired up and ready to go. It looks like Mark-Allen Bivens did not get started in tonight's race and is currently not in the session. Will likely start from the pits, if at all, is having some connectivity troubles and already behind the 8 ball. That is not what you want to see, Chris. You cannot afford to lose any laps here at the start of such a long racetrack.
Yeah, that is certainly a bummer if that is the case. But I'm hearing through the race channel here that his steering wheel actually stopped working. So they may delay the green here for him, just kind of help him out. But we're going to see here shortly if the pit road, the pit car comes down pit road.
Yeah, I think it would be a respectful thing to do for him, especially a playoff driver you got to consider. And nothing worse than, yellow flag comes back out, they're going to delay the green. Nothing worse than a guy's entire season really going up in smoke due to one tech issue. So massive respect there to our guys there on the, race control side, I should say, to make that decision there. Lights and pace car will stay on. So going to start the first race here under yellow and just wait for Mark-Allen Bivens to hop into the session. But here we go, folks. We are here. I want to get over to you guys in the YouTube chat because you guys are the backbone of what we do and what make this happen. And we are so excited to get into tonight's race with you guys and enjoy Michigan. So let's hear it in the chat. You know what we love to hear? We love to hear guys giving the race picks. Love to hear what your thoughts on the season as a whole are. Who are you watching to make it into the next round for the championship for? And finally, you Cody Welch fans out there, you expecting this to be the night? Is this the chance that the streak comes to an end in his home race, or should we avoid talking about Cody altogether? We'll leave it up to you guys, but going to be an exciting race.
And I'm just hearing now that Mark-Allen Bivens will have a wheel functioning, but he will subsequently have to start from the tail end of the field. So that stellar qualifying performance from him will kind of go up in smoke there, but at least he will be on the lead lap to start this race and will be off and running here shortly.
So that's going to promote Ricky Hart Jr. up onto the front row here. So the number 2 and the number 1, top 2 from last week's race there. Chris going to be top 2 starting off tonight at Auto Club. It's like last week never ended. Here we go. I'm excited here. You got Benjamin Lacey, your race pick, sitting there on row 2. Mine's sitting right in front of him on the outside lane. We'll see if the outside lane is quite as dominant here. on the starts as it was last week once the tire stints get a little bit older. Remember, last week was not even whatsoever on the front row and restarts. Tonight, hopefully it will be. But here we go, folks. Nickerson, your pole sitter. Your race sponsor is Welch. And here we go for the Michigan 125 presented by 785 Racing. Round 2 of the playoff round 2, and only 3 more races left till the finale. Let's get going. Nickerson leads into turn number 1. Hart, though, good jump on the outside line.
Yeah, really great start out of Hart there. We're going to see how much momentum this top line has coming out of 1 and 2. Looks like Nickerson's going to have the spot here, but should have a really solid push out of this one car, as Cody Welch is going to duck to the inside of Eddie Hagge.
Yeah, really liking the start here for the 15 car, actually. Really good run. He's going to look for in the inside line there as Ricky stays high, Nick goes low, and the 15 car will immediately get a promotion here up 1 spot. 3 wide we go here, though. Eddie Hagge splitting the gap between the 04 and the 7 car as the 44 car, Dawson Guzik, sits behind Mr. Brett Guzik. The two Guziks starting to work together there on the bottom line. Up to the front, though, Nickerson holds the lead through lap 1, so 1 down, 124 left to go. And back for third, we got a battle already forming up between Ricky Hart Jr., Cody Welch, and the 2785 guys going side by side through turn number 2.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks where it's really easy to get kind of ahead of yourself here and kind of use up your stuff. You know, you're seeing how close you are to the guy. You can make up some distance in the corners, and you can, you know, drive off the corner a little bit better, as we're seeing Ricky Hart gets to the inside of the 15 of Christopher Hamilton. Got 3 GFR drivers up front, but yeah, this is one of those tracks you can get in trouble with, you know, your tire degradation and just being too aggressive early on in the run. So I think you're going to see, as the run progresses, which the run is around 25 laps, you'll see drivers, you know, kind of come and go, as I would like to say. We're going to see the 15 car go to the inside of the 2. Might have a lead change here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of rapid-fire lead changes here that maybe we didn't last week at Bristol. I think guys are just more competitive, more ambitious to get spots here early on than maybe we've seen the past couple weeks. And I think that's going to be for the best. I think it's going to make the racing product more interesting. But Nick, already back to the bottom. You see you're fighting his teammate at the very start for laps led. Last lap is going to go to the number 15 car. So already, there we go. We've had more parity here at the beginning of the race than we did all of the first 50 laps at Bristol. Cody Welch, though, going to immediately take the promotion up to second. Hamilton just got a little bit too wide there off the corner. Nobody seemed to touch the wall, but guys really cutting it close here early on the start of the race. And as the tires wear out, they're going to want to get more careful of that, because you put 2 tires in the wall, you take outside damage, and suddenly your car is in question. But Mark Allen Bivens, just want to mention, did not take the green, has not run a lap as of yet. But he will start the race and will be credited with last place points regardless. That's the important part for his overall hunt. He won't be completely out of it, but this is not the race he is going to need if he can't make a lap.
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly a big blow to his championship hopes, but it's still not over yet. So we'll have to see how this race plays out, and hopefully he can get the car out on track and start to chip away at those laps down that he is. But one thing I do want to mention here is you're already starting to see drivers, you know, go down to the bottom, run that yellow line, but you're seeing drivers up in that, probably I'm going to call it the 3rd lane. There's a 4th lane up near the wall. You're going to see drivers be able to make the pass on the bottom lane early, right? So when the tires are nice and fresh and you have a lot of grip, you're going to be able to rip that bottom, and you're going to be essentially slide job the guy in front of you. I was just seeing Cody Welch go to the point here, kind of just proving my point exactly right. So he's going to be able to make the grip there, but he's going to slide up in front of Nickerson. Is going to get that push off. Later on in the run, that is something that you probably won't see. You won't see a driver be able to make that move like that, because I'm just, traditionally speaking, in my experience on this track, the car tends to build a little tight, and you're not going to be able to pull that off. You're going to have to get out of the throttle, and you're going to lose all your momentum and not be able to pull off that pass. As we're seeing Nickerson try to swap back to the lead here, but it looks like Cody's going to lead this lap.
Nickerson really got to be burning those tires up front. He's going to the bottom line a lot here early on, either to defend or to attack, and that can kill him over the course of the long run. And I think these guys that are just chilling back here, chilling on the high line, not really going too far, I think are going to be in an advantageous spot. One of those guys includes Kevin Foster here, who's in a good spot here at the 8 car, dipping out to the outside line here, now tucking in behind his teammate in the 15 of Christopher Hamilton. But yeah, it's really interesting the way that these guys' different starts will affect the end of the run. So keep in mind anything you notice as far as how guys seem to be burning up their stuff or how they seem to be conserving, because that will come to benefit them by the end of the run. Biggest mover here early on, though, guy who's been burning his stuff up a little bit, but making good track position as a result. Paul Wilson up 9 spots, and now David Lakey up 10 spots in 8th.
Yeah, certainly making up some headway here. Only a 20-car field tonight, so it's pretty easy to navigate through this field. One thing that will be super crucial, though, is you do not want to fall off this lead pack. They are staying a little tight for now, but we are only 8 laps into this race, so I'm assuming that they'll start to separate apart once once the tires start to fall off. But Kevin Foster just used that slipstream to his advantage. He's not going to quite make it work through 3 and 4, but wow, what a run he had going in that corner.
Just watch there, we saw Eddie Hagge lose quite a few spots in rapid succession, about 5 in a row there. He'll drop all the way back into 11th position. But yeah, Kevin Foster here, good run off of 4, but nothing on the front stretch. Look at the spots he loses here, Chris. All the way down to basically 6th position. We'll fight back on the inside of the line, but it's going to be a better run for the guys on the high side. Foster may go all the way back here to 10th, and he was just up there in 2nd. This is what I talk about when I compared this to Daytona. This is the style of racing you're going to see. These packs and this momentum, so crucial here at Michigan.
Yeah, and that comparison is so true. You know, it's different because you're going to see the guys getting out of the throttle here, as you wouldn't see that at Daytona. But the thing here is limiting how much you're off the throttle and trying to channel that momentum is so crucial here. With this package, we've seen it in other races past with different tracks, and in this package, that the sooner you get out of the throttle, you're dropping like a rock. And you'll see that here. You'll be able to gather it back up and get going with the draft, but you know, early in the run, you're gonna get eaten up if you're having to jump out of the throttle for too long.
Here we go into turn number 3 now. Sean Britt getting involved here in the fold. The number 98 LAT Racing Wheels car going to make it 3 wide with Wilson. Then Lacey splitting the gap there in the middle. Really waving back and forth, trying to find his track space. Now he finds it, and he will be 5th coming across the line here to start lap number 10. 10 down. We got 115 to go here at Michigan. And Cody Welch, been your race leader for the last 5. Hometown boy, looking good here early on.
Yeah, it looks like the cars are starting to get a little upset for these guys here tonight. I know they run a little bit different in the draft than they do in practice, and I'm sure they had a practice race, but I'm not sure if everybody made it. So the thing here is just making sure you're keeping the fenders on it. Aerodynamics here are huge. You can't pull off what Brandon Jackson did last week and finish the race with no front bumper. You're going absolutely nowhere. So yeah, just keeping that thing nice and clean and nice and pointed. Once you start losing it, you can see how tight these guys are. Granted, you could probably fit 4 cars on these straightaways side by side, maybe even 5, but that's just going to slow you down. So just trying to be nice and orderly here and pick your opportunities to get to the front, as we're looking at the 7-car Benjamin Lacey trying to get P2 here from Christopher Hamilton.
He is, and he's got David Lakey there making good headway behind him, up 14 spots now, qualified 18th, already up now 15 spots into 3rd from 18th. What a first 10 laps it's been for the 84 car, who was fastest in practice up until the very end of the session. 84 car guy, don't be surprised here, maybe a dark horse to take a win off these playoff guys, get his first career victory. But right now, it has been the Cody Welch show with Benjamin Lacey, his teammate, trying to jump one of the GFR Racing guys here into 2nd.
You can see Cody peek down there. I think he was just trying to give his teammate there just a little bit of a sniff of the draft so that we can pull him along and successfully pull off this pass. It looks like the 7 car will be able to jump in front of the 15, and this is looking like shades of Auto Club here. We had these 2 guys running up front for the majority of it, and we saw it come down to those 2 at the end, so maybe they're trying to think of more of the same here tonight.
Yeah, that race really, really good for both these guys. Could have been a win for either driver until the last couple corners. Off the final corner, though, 85 car once again going to take it. 7 car might have a chance. Good run there for Lacey. The question is, how aggressive will he be to take this position? And I would still keep an eye on the playoff guys towards the back end of the top 10 here, like a Nickerson or a Hart or a Foster, currently running down there in 7th, 8th, and 9th. But they're all squared up as long as they can avoid the wrecks. They're going to be conservative a little bit more. But they are running right to the bottom lane there, Chris. I'm surprised. I would have thought that this would kind of single file out. But guys seem to be pretty willing to run 2 wide, although that outside line really starting to square up. But here we go, another GFR guy down to the bottom. Surprised this is the strategy here at this point in the race. But Lacey now going to go to the front, potentially going to take the spot over from Welch. We'll see if Welch gets the run on the outside line here.
I think Welch will be able to pull this off. I'm actually quite surprised to see Lacey try to get down and get to the bottom of his teammate. I thought they would work together a little bit longer, and the reason why I say that is, traditionally speaking, you know, you start on the tires that you're on, and we have 3 sets in the pits. However, fuel window here is around 25 to 27 laps. So that's important to know, right? We have a 125 lap race. you're probably going to have to double stint one of those tires if I'm
Whoa,
thinking
Ulrich in the
correctly
wall.
here.
Ulrich in the wall. We got Harkins around. Further back, that pack of 3 might bring out the first caution of the day. Harkins will save it. Ulrich, though, going to go for a bit of a spin. Yellow flag does come out. First caution of the day. Welch should take the front position there at the start of this segment, but yeah, Lacey there was really putting the attack on. And I think my only counterpoint before we go to the replay there, I think Lacey potentially going for the mindset of, well, if I'm the guy to the inside attacking my teammate, then it's not somebody else. I think by just forming a wall, those 2 guys going too wide, I think potentially just shuts the door to the guys behind might be more beneficial than back-to-back. But maybe we'll see how that forms up later on, see if that is the strategy. But here we go. Butt Kicker Racing replay, both the 25 and the 12 just getting loose, heading into the outside wall there off of turn number 2. Not really sure what happened there. Probably starting to lose the tires. Probably, I think maybe Ulrich carrying too much to the corner. Bill Harkins got a bit of an arrow push, and just both guys plowing into the turn 2 wall. The 2 guys in that pack of 3, but they will catch up to the rest of the field. So it's a win and a loss at the same time, but it will bring out caution number 1.
Yeah, that's just a little bit of a misjudgment with these tires starting to fall off. But what I'm thinking I'm going to see here is these guys pit for fuel only. Fuel only. That's probably what I would do. You might have a couple drivers come and put 4 new Goodyears on the car, but I would be kind of surprised at that. Like I was just talking about, you only have 3 sets of tires in the pits. So if you take one now, you're shortchanging yourself later. Granted, you're going to get a lot of great track position. The guys that don't take tires are going to be significantly slower. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see here if anybody straps on tires, and you're going to see them kind of just absolutely demolish the rest of this field. So yeah, as we're going to see who ends up winning the race off of pit road here. I think you're going to see a lot of just gas and go. That's a lot of what I'm
close. Close between Welch and Lacey. I think Welch will take it of the 2 teammates. No, they're going to go Lacey here off of the yellow line. I think it's going to be Bill Harkins. You're just going to stay out, lead a lap, and head to the back. So Lacey should take over as your new leader. Kevin Foster there going to come out of the pits in 3rd ahead of his teammate Hamilton. Then it's Lakey, Britt, Wilson, Gibson, Hart. Going to be your top 10 here after the restart, followed by Eddie Hagee, Nick Nickerson, and Brett Guzik is your final driver here in the playoffs, running tonight's race with Mark Allen Bivens out, as he will start in 14th on the restart.
Yeah, so just based on those pit stop times, that would confirm that the majority of them took fuel only, which is, I believe, the smarter move at this stage in the race. It kind of shovels everything up, but you know, with the fuel window being 25 laps, you need to have a little bit of extra in the bank here to make sure that you can make a green-white checkered. Because, I mean, just the way the racing's been going here with the aggression in the playoffs, that is something you could expect to see. So grabbing the extra fuel on board for now, it's going to put a little bit more weight in these cars. It's going to have them driving a little bit differently on these older tires. We're going to have to see how that works out.
And down pit road, here comes Bill Harkins. He will take his service and we'll hop off the racing line. Going to give the spot up here to Benjamin Lacey. So back to the 785 front row here, Lacey and Welch. But yeah, my theory there, Chris, about why they were going too wide, I think that is reasonably what the plan was. I think we're just trying to cut it off from the guys behind. We're trying to prevent any room on the bottom from somebody getting underneath Cody.
Yeah, that is just a pretty safe bet to kind of just ensure that you're both staying up front. But my thing is the tire degradation here. I just know it's super steep, and you don't want to burn yourself up, because if your tires are burned up and you cannot maintain P2 or the second position on track to help defend your teammate, you know, that's going to ultimately just kind of diffuse your whole plan there. But Kevin Foster, I gotta touch on him. He's looking mighty quick here. Maybe he was quick in practice, quick in qualifying, but this is a performance that he needs. I think this is a track that really suits him well. And he's quickly made his way up to the front, and I think that he will be a mainstay up here all night long. He's kind of teamed up with his teammate, Christopher Hamilton here. They kind of got him in twos here. We got the 15 and the 8 together up here, and we have the 2 and the 1 side by side a little bit further back in the pack. So look for those guys to work together, just like the 785 guys and the BC Simsport guys are, just to see if they can maintain their track position. And we were talking about it. You're going to need friends here tonight. You've kind of already seen a little bit of that, but having the pace car duck down pit road here, we're going to be taking ourselves to green. We're going to see who has the better restart, better launch out of these two guys. We're going to play some shenanigans with the the restart, the top line does not get going at all here. 8 car might be able to take the lead from the 85 going into 1 and 2, but the 7 car, phenomenal restart out of that 7 Ford Mustang. It's going to take it all the way through 1 and 2. He's going to come out with the lead, but the 85 car is fighting back from the 8 here. Should be able to take it all the way down the backstretch and get locked in on the back bumper of that 7 car, Benjamin Lacey. His teammate swapped positions on the pit road there, but we'll see if the 85 car can get back to the front. Big aggressive push from that 85 car is going to go to the outside of the 7.
Yeah, side by side go the teammates here, 70 and the 85 here on a pretty good run. Looks like Lacey is going to take that position. Big push here, though. First time from Welsh. We've seen that really big push here from teammates today, Chris. And I think these guys are going to test the waters here, see how safe that is. And then I think if it really starts to stick here, and guys can do it consistently, I think that will become kind of the new meta here tonight.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. If they can find a way to break away from the rest of these guys at any given moment, that's definitely what you want to do. Granted, those two will probably be burning more fuel than the rest, but if I can just have a little bit of breathing room and relax with my teammate, just take some nice calm laps around this beautiful Michigan International Speedway, that's what I would definitely prefer to do. But he's already becoming under pressure again from that 8 car of Kevin Foster as they're trying to break the draft here on these long straightaways.
Yeah, really good single file line starting to work out here. Sean Britt's still going to the bottom here to get aggressive. It's himself and Connor Gibson. Both guys, I think we can agree here, Chris, probably some of the premier names in this series right now that are not in playoff contention. We see Bo Harkins to move aside, going to give these guys the line. And we see here on board with Sean Britt. He'll tuck in behind Christopher Hamilton. But I think they aren't playoff guys we're talking about a ton here, as much as the playoff contenders left. But Britt didn't make the playoffs, but was the closest guy to making it. And Connor Gibson heartbreakingly missing out on round 1. I think they have a lot to prove to themselves here tonight, and I think they will be a big factor all the way throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that you can't put it any better than that. These kids, they want to prove something, and they want to prove that they belong, and they probably should have been in this round. So obviously they're going to be pushing for wins, and they want to be in contention, but they also know, the severity of if they were to make a mistake, what that would mean to these guys that they're trying to prove something to. So it's kind of a two-edged sword here in their battle to try to gain the respect of their competitors, but they're certainly making that happen here tonight so far.
Turn number 4. It's only Nick Nickerson here now out of the outside of that outside group here, and Ricky Hart Jr. further back. And really, that's been the story tonight. It's the kind of team dichotomy here between Lacey, Welch, the 785 guys just running up front. They've been back to front this entire race. But those GFR cars, very different strategy, running to the inside line. And I think that's a really interesting story here, Chris. Maybe just touch on, from your perspective, how you think GFR and 785, with the 785 being one guy in the playoffs and one guy not, and that's the whole team, versus GFR, 4 guys all trying to balance their championship expectations. What do you think is the best, is the comparison to make between the team dynamics there? Which one do you think will work better to the end of the year to get their team a championship?
I'd say right now that GFR club there, it's probably pretty difficult at this point, because you know that the odds are kind of stacked against you. You're hoping that all 4 cars are able to transfer, and that is not an easy feat. It's very possible to do, but even in the real life racing here in the NASCAR series, you haven't seen that. All 4 of the major cup teams making it into the final round of the playoffs to fight for a championship. So I'd be really surprised to see if that happens. I wouldn't rule it out, but these guys are all strong race car drivers, and they can definitely get it done. But I think it's a lot easier for that 785 group to be able to kind of just say, hey, listen, I need points here tonight, or I'm sitting pretty good, or whatever the case may be. They're a little bit more relaxed, I think, with having only one guy to focus on to make sure he finishes well.
Right. Yeah. I think it's going to be different, but I think it is invaluable. I think having that guy not in the playoff order like they do with Cody Welsh for the 785 team, where you have a guy that's just fully out of the equation in Cody Welch. A guy that can kind of serve as a Swiss Army knife. If you, in one race, you just need a position, you need a guy to get creative to make, get some draft help for his teammate or something like that. Whereas I need
a Brit just tag the wall pretty hard there. You're gonna see him drop back like a rock here. He's just gonna hang on to it. But wow, that was pretty dicey in front of pretty much the entire field.
Yeah, Sean Britt here, a guy that we always know to attack. That's kind of been his strategy all the playoffs here. And yeah, just having some struggles here, it would seem. A couple guys with that outside wall. And the longer these runs go, and that arrow push, again, is so crucial as the tires get worse. I mean, one lap, if you're running by yourself, nobody in front of you here, Chris, you might think you're confident. Oh, I'm fine. There's no chance I get into the wall at all. And then suddenly you find yourself 2 tires off the outside, and suddenly you got damage.
Yeah, and with this Gen 6 Cup car, they did a really good job of distinguishing the fact that with the newer car, with those composite bodies, you can rough up the car a little bit and still keep the thing straight and still maintain a lot of speed. With this car, you know, with how they crumble, if you do tag the wall, the car is going to be all out of whack, and you will see that and feel that in the car in the sim. So really worried about that 98 car right now. He's just got to kind of baby it and just make sure he can make it home. But I do want to touch on some other playoff implications here. Mark Allen Bivens has disconnected from the server. He will not be participating in the rest of the race. And I know he took a couple laps there, but I don't know if it was due to the fact of his wheel not cooperating the way he wanted to, or he was just down so many laps he just kind of threw in the towel here tonight. But that is certainly a big blow to his championship hopes. And at this point, I would say he's certainly having to probably race his way in, or by winning, into the next round for the championship. So that is certainly a tough start to this round for him.
Yeah, it would certainly be getting close there for him. It's not by any stretch of the imagination going to be a favorable situation for him going into the final couple races of the round in Richmond and then Phoenix. But I don't think it's quite racing you're in. We'll actually show you the live update here in 2 seconds. But yeah, where he sits in the playoff grid as of lap 18, which is, I think, a more reasonable estimate of how the start of tonight's race has gone. Yeah, not in a super good spot here. He's going to be 11 points as we sit live, 11 points back of the playoff cutoff line. Manageable. We saw Lacey do it. Remember Lacey here, Benjamin Lacey missed an entire race in the first round and has still managed to fight back and make it into this round. But definitely going to be a tough kind of battle here these last 2 weeks, especially tracks that I think do favor the veterans quite a bit. And I think that'll be a tough one for a guy like Bittens that maybe is definitely proven at certain tracks, but maybe not quite so much at Michigan specifically.
Certainly a tough break for him. But another thing I do want to touch on is the 04 car, Brett Guzik. He's been kind of riding around here in this secondary pack that we have. They've lost touch with this first pack with that Sean Britt incident there. But Brett and Dawson Guzik, and basically the BC Sim Sport guys, are kind of just riding here. And I wonder if this is some kind of play on how they're planning to call this race as far as team management goes. But I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Brett has usually been one of those guys that wants to be up front and leading laps and, you know, kind of making sure he's solidifying his race that way rather than playing it the more conservative way. So I know that Brett, I'm pretty sure the last time we ran here, I think that he was either in contention to win or he actually did win. And that was all due to the fact that the GFR guys actually ran out of fuel coming to the closing laps, and they had to pit an additional time. So I'm wondering if he's having that in the back of his mind there, and he's just trying to make sure he has enough fuel to make it all the way, and sitting in that secondary pack and making sure that you're saving a little bit more fuel rather than being aggressive is maybe the way that team is thinking about how to approach this race.
Yeah, that Guzik click here definitely all kind of lined up in this section. And I'm curious for your perspective here, because Steve Ulrich is kind of serving as potentially a future bridge between these two sort of groupings here at this point, between the front kind of 7 guys and then this pack here from back on. But how many cautions do you think we're really going to see tonight? Because I'm actually kind of surprised that with only 1 yellow in the first 31 laps, that's kind of the instinct for a team, if it is indeed intentional, that they want to get completely out of this front group, because this is a good group of guys. Front 7 is a caution. Okay, well, there we go. Call that typical.
Spoken into existence.
Oh, my goodness, the commentator jinx. That's Ricky Hart Jr., number 1 car, my race pick. Speaking of jinxes, finds himself in the outside wall. I didn't see where that kicked off at all. He was up and comfortably the top 5 there right before this incident. Let's go check with the Butt Kicker Racing replay, courtesy of Butt Kicker, where this went wrong. But got hooked off the front nose of the 04 of Brett Guzik. We cut away, and suddenly a fellow playoff contender puts him around.
Wow. I mean, talk about speaking things into existence. You're talking about how you know, that team was looking for probably a caution there, and yeah, that's certainly a huge development there with the one car of Ricky Hart. Doesn't necessarily need to do anything crazy tonight, but that will certainly hinder his success tonight. He's probably gonna have to use his fast repair with how that car got banged up there, but yeah, again, I'm just as surprised as you are to see that happen there. It looked like two cars going for the same real estate, just a little too late.
Yeah, it looked to me a little bit like perhaps maybe Kevin, or sorry, I should say Ricky merged up a little bit early, but he was off the pace for some reason. I think he'd gotten in kind of tangled in something a second before, and that's why he was off the pace. And it just does get tough to predict where a guy's pace is going to take them. You know, if a guy is that considerably off of the rest of the field, it can just be tough to get around him and not have an incident like that happen. But here we go, race off pit road, Chris. I'll let you call it here. We'll try to get another update for you folks here where we sit with the points as of lap number 32.
And at this point, Marshall, I'm going to assume that these guys are strapping 4 tires on this race car here. They're probably begging for tires, and that would probably be a safe bet to throw them on now. You might see a couple guys just grab fuel because they're going to need a double stint, but looks like Benjamin Lacey is going to easily win the race off pit road. A little bit of parity from the last time we were on pit road here. Actually, no, he did win. He won the race off pit road last time, but yeah, Benjamin Lacey and Cody Welch leading us off pit road, followed by, looks like, Kevin Foster here. Nick Nickerson returning to the top 5. Christopher Hamilton, Jason Greenwell, Dawson Guzik, Paul Wilson, Brett Guzik. So, kind of restructured here what we're looking at up front as far as the contenders in that second part of the pack have kind of reemerged as contenders here early on in the race. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer race, folks. I hate to break it to you. This is a bit of a long one, especially if you have cautions like this. These caution laps do get pretty long, but
we're bang for your buck.
I know that
good value.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day here, the ends of these races usually shape up to be something super exciting. You've already seen how they can kind of manipulate the car around them with whether it's using the side draft or just kind of getting the runs where they need it. And yeah, the end of this race will definitely not disappoint compared to seasons past. I know that we've had some really great finishes here, but as we're going to go through the timing line here, the start-finish line, we'll kind of see where everybody restacks up here and assess where we're at. Yeah, so we have Benjamin Lacey, Cody Welch, 1 and 2, Kevin Foster and Nick Nickerson, the GFR boys, partnered with Christopher Hamilton there. So 3 of the 4 GFR guys are in the top 5. So obviously Ricky Hart will have some work to do. Probably use that fast repair. Looks like he's got that car fixed up. He will be back up here in a hurry, I assume. But as far as playoff drivers, mired a little bit deeper in the field. Obviously, we've already touched on Mark Alban Bivens. He is probably going to be rendered to a 20th place finish tonight. Eddie Haggy is sitting in P13, despite that really good qualifying spot. Maybe that practice is kind of lack of practice is catching up to him here. He's sitting here in 13th. Just ahead of him is Ricky Hart in 12th. And then we have to jump all the way up to Brett Guzik in 9th to see our next playoff contender. From there, you're getting into the top 5 with Christopher Hamilton, Nick Nickerson, Kevin Foster, and Benjamin Lacey rounding up your playoff field. I know we'll be getting our playoff update, our points update here shortly. But we should be going back to green. And one thing I'm going to be interested to see on these new tires, which one is going to win this battle of who is going to get the best launch. We saw that the top line did not get going there the last time around, but we have teammates here. Hopefully they're communicating on who's going and when. Let's see who gets the jump here. Green flag's back out. Benjamin Lacey gets a solid start. So does the 85 of Cody Welch, but he's going to have the 2 car of Nick Nickerson all over that back bumper. He's going to shove him right into 1 and 2. Should have a solid run here to compete with this 8 car of Kevin Foster, who has really made some noise tonight. I think he's going to be in contention for this win. He was in contention for the win at Auto Club, but it just didn't quite work out. But we have a car spinning.
Brett Guzik, the 04 car, is the one off. As I jump back from finish up the graphic, this will considerably change things. 04 car finds himself looking the wrong way on the restart, just as he had that incident a moment ago with Ricky. Finds himself in another tussle here with his brother. The two Guziks will come together off a massive shunt off the inside wall. What happened to Dawson to kick that off? But that'll be the storyline here, Chris. Big moment, and the two brothers, we talked about that teamwork from the Guzik bros. Well, that's not going to considerably help, as it was the 44 getting into the 96.
Oh, don't put those guys on Family Feud tonight after this one. He's probably going to be a little upset, but not to worry. We still have the fast repair for all those Brett Guzik fans. He's just going to have to use it a little bit earlier than he probably expected, so he'll be back up in this thing, and we'll get that fixed up. But you might see cars come down pit road as a little bit of a strategy play for fuel. Again, this is a longer track, so we saw it at Auto Club where guys would just pit for fuel only, even if it was for that half a gallon or 1 gallon. So we'll hear it here, but I'm hearing everybody wondering in the chat. Maybe we can get an answer, but everybody's wondering what Mama Goose is. Who's she gonna side with tonight?
Ooh, good question.
As far as that incident. So Mama Goose, I see you there in the chat. Maybe chime up there as we see a little bit of games here on pit road. I love to see that stuff. That's so much fun when you're out on the track trying to see who's gonna play a game. Were there any takers on pit road? It doesn't look like it. But yeah, that's a little bit of a fun thing on the Bandit Racing League side. All these drivers pay attention to the chat here in the race, and they definitely appreciate all the love you guys give them. So you guys are definitely spoke about even with these drivers mid race.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see, because I know guys, I like to pretend they're putting full focus on the race, even with the in the kind of dichotomy with the broadcast here on the side. But some of them definitely go check in once in a while, either have us on the side and maybe in perpetuity with their chat. So hi to all the drivers here listening in tonight here as we drive under caution, looking for our opinions. Got it ready here, and this is the graphic. Let me correct it. It says as of lap 18. This is actually as of lap 36. Here right now as we sit live. So as of 2 laps ago, this was correct. So this will be everything up prior to the Brett Guzik incident there. His moment with Dawson Guzik. So he'll actually get an even less favorable position here right now. But Chris, the big storyline here is going to be right now. I know you can't see it on your screen at the moment, but let me run you through it here, fans at home, after 36 laps here at Michigan. Right now, Benjamin Lacey is the guy that is in a really comfortable spot here. Even if he doesn't win the race, even without the automatic bye, he sits 17 places above the cutoff, which is different than the first round, where, remember, he missed the first race at Roval and was fighting from the back. This time, he is in that favorable spot, almost a full race in hand over the rest of the field, before the 2 GFR guys in the 1 of Ricky Hart Jr. sits 6 above, 4 above for the 15 of Christopher Hamilton right now as we run live. Then it's Kevin Foster, the first GFR guy below. If those guys can bump Benjamin Lacey out, it'll be an all GFR top 4. But we got Eddie Hagge still in contention here as he currently sits in the 13th position. Not ideal where he'd like to be. Was pretty close here coming into tonight's race to the cutoff, and now he sits even further below it. 7 spots below. Mark Allen Bivens here, despite being out of the race still with Brett Guzik, as now out of the event goes the 04 car of Brett Guzik, so he will slip even further. If I had to estimate live, I'd say he's going to be now 15 or 16 below the cutoff here, and Mark Allen Bivens sitting 9 below. But this is becoming dire for Brett Guzik, because again, dominated last week's race at Bristol. Things didn't turn out well for him in the end. He went to the back, but boy, oh boy, this is brutal for the 04 car and all his fans. Mama Goose there watching at home. This is not what the outcome he wanted to see, and he is the guy, I think, getting closest, Chris, here to win, and he's in, and that's going to be a strategy for Richmond Phoenix.
Yeah, that is certainly a huge surprise out of that 04 car there. I did not see that coming. I thought he would definitely get his fast repair and be on his way. I'm not sure what quite happened there as far as his fast repair goes and why he had to disconnect, but that is certainly a huge blow to his championship hopes and being in the title fight for, I believe, would be the 4th consecutive year here. So, yeah, well, he has some work cut out for him in the next coming weeks, but he's certainly definitely proved that he's able to do so. But we'll be taking the green flag here. I'll let you bring us the green.
Yeah, we're back here. We got your playoff update. You know where we sit. You know that Kevin Foster is the guy looking to move his way up here into the top 4. Green flag is out. It's Lacey and Welch. The 785 teammates have dominated tonight in their sponsored race, and they continue on the restart. Good start for Kevin Foster, though, in the inside lane. He should take over second position and upset the balance of things as the GFR guys now sit 3, 4, and 5, starting to group up, team versus team battle with Jason Greenwell in the Capper seat 6th.
7 car's probably going to hop up here and get this run off the 85. He sure
Whoa,
does. Big run,
right
big
further
wreck.
back. Greenwell catches Gross, catches the 86 of Wilson. Cautions are now breeding cautions, and this is considerably shaking up the order here early on as Britt as well finds himself in trouble. The 84 and the 83 car both into it. 86 car of Paul Wilson. We go live see here how Jason Greenwell's feeling. We got him on Skype here tonight, and he is tangled in this wreck and doesn't look particularly impressed, but certainly doesn't look as upset as some drivers often would. I know Jason's typically a pretty calm, cool, and collected guy here, but yeah, not particularly happy. The Mountain Vernon, Indiana native should get it back to the pits here to grab his quick repair. Shouldn't go a lap down, Chris, but boy, oh boy, this has really kicked off into an incident-packed couple of 10 laps.
Yeah, that was definitely unexpected, and you were asking me right before these quick series of cautions here, do I think there'll be a lot of cautions tonight? And I was going to say that there probably wasn't going to be a lot of cautions. I think that this race has traditionally went pretty green, but yeah, I guess we're making fools of ourselves up here tonight. But yeah, I think that you're gonna probably see these guys come down and just top off on fuel here. Might see a couple more little games, but all these caution laps are going to allow them to conserve more fuel. You might not, but if I'm a betting man, you're going to see these guys come down and top off these tanks.
Yeah, this race has been about as green so far as a 10-week-old banana. It has not particularly been a very calm and collected venture, although the very beginning definitely was. You know, we saw that period of long green at the start. We know it's possible, and I think maybe with all this chaos and fighting for positions worked out, maybe it'll get a little bit easier. But I think what is interesting about these frequent pit stops and trips to pit road just for fuel, likely not for tires, is it's all about guys' ability to get in their box. We saw Nick miss it just now. You saw him backing up to get back in his pit stall. That's the skill this really tests. And, full tires for a lot of the contenders. It's going to be Connor Gibson, the first guy off pit road, meaning things are really going to switch up here in the order. Gross comes out ahead of Lakey, who was just in the wreck, who's now ahead of Welch, and Lacey, who were leading. Lacey's going to drop all the way back to 11th here. So this, I think, is the big first big strategy kind of shake up, and everybody splitting off into different branches. This is going to be cool to see, because I love these races where a guy at the front like Eddie Haggy going to be on the oldest tires of anybody. Some guys just took fuel, so the cars will be a little bit heavier. Some guys took fuel and tires, so they'll be in a really good spot here at the beginning, but they're going to have less sets later. Strategy splitting off, and I mean, we always talk about it in this series, but as far as strategy goes, Chris, who here tonight do you think has had the right mix of pace and has been at the front, but also has those strategy chops?
I'm going to say that the GFR guys are on the right side of the strategy, but speaking on strategy, there was three drivers that stayed out on that. That would be the 97 of Eddie Haggy, the 10 of Matt Crockett, and the 25 of Steve Ulrich. All stayed out on the track. So talking about differing strategies here, we had guys on pit road doing different things. We had guys that didn't come down pit road doing something different. So that's what I like to see, is varying strategies all over the racetrack, and that makes for some fun racing. So last week, Eddie Haggy stayed out. It kind of probably cost him the win, to be honest with you. If he probably would have pitted, he probably would have came out with the lead, and he would have been a hard car to pass because he was certainly fast. So we'll see how that works out for him this week, staying out here early. Maybe this is a play to kind of offset himself from those other drivers, but certainly definitely enjoyable to see these guys all doing different strategies at this point.
I think the other interesting aspect to think about is a kind of a butterfly effect from Brett Guzik's incident that has taken him out at tonight's race is the Team Guzik dynamic of all those, Guzik affiliated drivers working together like Haggy did back at Talladega. That's kind of taken out of the equation if indeed Brett Guzik, who's I think along with Dawson Guzik kind of the backbone of that dynamic, he's out of the race. So I think that may considerably play a part in Haggy's strategy, and I just hope he's making his decisions with as much kind of outside help as he can as possible. Not to say he doesn't know how to make calls himself, but just, the more voices you can get, the more cooks you can get in the kitchen, the better decisions I think you tend to make in the long run. So if he's flying blind, flying solo by himself, these decisions become all the more crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far as Eddie goes, I think that obviously the help of the Guzik brothers and their racing experience has certainly helped him, I think, this year. but I do like how he's been kind of approaching these races kind of a lone wolf, and you know, he's counting himself out, and I think that's what's putting him in contention to win these races.
Pace car off on a pit road here. It is going to be the 97 and 10 car going to control the field here. Matt Crockett really drifting back here at the start here on the green flag. Hopefully he bunches up a little bit better. Here we go. Now we're going back to green. 97 car going to take us here into turn number 1 with a 31 of Connor Gibson getting a much better jump than the 10. He'll jump up to third. I think Lakey, he'll jump up to second. I think Lakey may jump here to third.
Great start out of that 97. I think the 10 was playing a little bit of games, which ultimately cost the 31 car to be black flag there due to the technicality of him beating the 10 to the line. But look at this 15 car shot out of a cannon taking the run. 31 car says, I don't care about my black flag, I'm going to the point. And the 31 car will have his black flag removed due to the not ideal start out of the 10 car. But this 15 car and the 8 car, they are hustling to get up here. Look at that 4 wide coming down the front stretch.
Crazy dip he just took. Guy went about 6 car widths in the span of half a second. Really flew to the bottom here trying to get that ideal line of attack into 2, and he will get it. He's going to get a good run off the corner. We'll see what he can do on the straightaway. But Foster up here into the catbird seat. Welch trying to move up too. I'm worried here, Chris. I smell another caution brewing. And if you're one of these playoff guys like Nickerson, Hart, Hamilton, Foster, not where you want to be in the eye of the storm here at the moment. As Haggy back to the front with Foster on the inside.
He's certainly under attack here by this 8 car, channeling a lot of momentum on this bottom line. It's going to have a little bit of help from the 31 car, but the 31 car wants to make it a 3 car battle here for the lead. That's not going to quite work out. Super tight here in the 1 and 3 as they all fan out. Here comes the 85 and the 2 as well, going back to the front. You thought you weren't going to see them for a little while, but Crockett here they are.
Crockett really loose. Lacey down half below the white line there all the way to the bottom trying to get this move on the 10 car. That number 10 Ford, a new paint scheme for Crockett, looking really good this week. He's looking good here, staying up in the top 5. So is Gibson there now that his penalty has been taken away. Fastest lap of the race just run here by Paul Wilson, driver the number 86. Things are heating up. Guys are really starting to push. And, I mean, that's a combination, I think, of all this hard racing we've had in the last couple runs. I think it's getting guys fired up. But I also think it's just these long cautions. I think guys get so pent up that the second they're back out on the racetrack there, they want to just go, go, go and make up for all that lost race time.
Yeah, definitely. You know, when you're doing these super long pace laps, you're like, oh, come on, man, I want to get back to racing. But, you know, you got to remember, you don't want to do more pace laps by ultimately bringing out a caution here. So, yeah, this 8 car, I told you, he looked really good. He was able to make his moves throughout the field, and he's certainly made them all. He's back. He's up to the front now, and one car that I'm keeping my eye on at the moment is this 97 to see if he can manage to keep this top 5. That would be a huge net gain for him in track position, but I'm worried how many laps difference do they have on the fuel mileage for these cars that just pitted compared to him? Because one thing that you definitely don't want to happen is for you to be out on this track all by yourself. You're seeing how big of a difference this draft makes each and every lap, as the cars towards the end of this pack are definitely hurting for speed. But this 97 car, he's making some noise, but this 8 car, man, he looks super quick tonight.
I'll throw it to you here, Chris, just a fun kind of trivia question. How many races do you think it has been since we've seen the former 2-time champion in victory lane?
Oof, that's a tough question. I want to say the last time he won was in season 9. So I'm going to go with roughly 60 races.
That's a good call. Luckily, it's a little bit shorter than that. It is 42 is the official total here. So it's been a while, not as long as a couple other drivers that shall remain nameless, but it's definitely one that I think he's going to want to break. And there's been, I think, easily upwards of 10 to 15 top 5s in that time, including making the final 8 and even the final 4 one year. But Foster, the top step of the podium, has eluded him for a while. Tonight, I think the best start to a race we've seen from him in a long time. Not necessarily since that win. He's had good starts before. But boy, oh boy, are he and the 2 car looking racy. And I think, again, you talk about those team dynamics with teammates that maybe don't need the win. 2 car, don't think he's going to be quite as hard pressed for it as the 8 car is. Maybe willing to give his teammates some help over this very hard charging home racer in the 85 car.
Yeah, I think you're certainly right there. I feel like Nick would be content with finishing second if that means he can punch another car into the round of 4 for the championship there. I mean, that's really what it is, and we've heard it from him himself. He has goals to try and get as many of that GFR stable into the championship 4 as he can, and by running second here tonight to his teammate, he can certainly do that. Now, obviously, if something happens to the 8 car here and Nick ends up in the point, I don't think he's going to necessarily pull over and let him win, but he could certainly help him defend his point position here. But he's going to have a lot of work cut out for him with this 85 car. He's another car that's up super fast here tonight, and he's not letting those guys get away from him.
Before we head to the back here, we're going to do a little lap from the perspective of one of these drivers towards the back of this pack here. And quickly, first of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody watching here tonight's race here at Michigan. I know we had a couple cautions there stacking things up. I know it's a longer race here tonight, but things are really getting heated up. Things are getting exciting, and I promise you we're going to have a good finish here tonight. I would just say tonight, especially, you know, I know we often have a common audience that makes it out here every week for some that aren't able to, but if you are interested, if you have anybody, friends and family, somebody you've never really gotten this broadcast out to, I would say tonight, give it a shot. And on behalf of us, it's always us a massive favor. Throw the link out here to somebody you know that maybe friend of a driver, family of a driver, somebody you think may be interested to try out what we're doing tonight. We're trying to make tonight a little bit more accessible, make it easier to introduce guys into the guys and gals into the playoff scene here and how we're shaping up for the end of this championships. If you have anybody you've never really gotten involved in the Bandit Racing League, tonight might be a good night to start. Just throw the link out to somebody random and see who we can bring. And I already had a few people tonight that I said, hey, you know what? This thing I do on Wednesday nights, I don't mention to a ton of people that aren't racing oriented in my personal life, but thought they may want to check it out. So it would be massive for us if you guys could do the same. As always, we would really appreciate it. And there's people that definitely rep it for us each and every race, but leaving a like, leaving support on these videos, it does do a massive service to help get new people involved, get recommended to new faces, and expand our Bandit community. And I thank those of you that push people to do it every week. Obviously, by your own decisions, as always. Support whatever media you particularly choose, but it is always appreciated. So I want to thank all of you on behalf of the series, and especially if you're a fan of Kevin Foster here tonight or Cody Welch, because you've seen really stellar displays from both drivers as this front 6 starts to break away from Connor Gibson in that second pack.
Yeah, they're certainly getting a little racy up here up front, and I'm actually surprised they're able to build this gap because, you know, quite often you're seeing this 85 car jump out and kind of get that wider angle on the exits of the corners, and you would think them running side by side here is going to slow them down. But one guy that was able to track down this top group from a little ways back is that 7 car Benjamin Lacey. I'm sure he's looking for that back bumper of his teammate Cody Welch there. But yeah, they're starting to fan out a little bit, and I like that, to be honest with you. I know that people are probably loving this little pack racing here that we have. I mean, it's certainly exciting, but I do like to see the drivers try to navigate their way through these large gaps, because you will see them be able to do it. And man, when you're driving these cars and you can see that someone's 2 seconds ahead of you, and then a couple laps later they're only you know, a half a second, as we're seeing this 7 car getting to work here as the 97 is all over the back bumper of his teammate. I'd be really surprised if he can make this work, because these 3 cars are absolutely pinned together. But yeah, it is so much fun to see that ticker wind down after a couple laps of trying to track somebody down, just chasing the rabbit a little bit. But seeing this secondary group catch up to this top group as they're getting a little bit racy up here at the front.
Yeah, that gap down to about 1 second. I think in my experience, Chris, it's about 7 or 8 tenths, right? That I think you need to kind of be within that window to be able to get the slipstream back to catch up on these longer tracks. I think in my experience, in these cars specifically, about 7 or 8 tenths of a second.
Yeah, it's roughly about that. You know, you just need to get a little sniff of that draft, and you'll be finding yourself coming towards the front. But as these guys race side by side, that's going to give the guys a little bit further back an opportunity, as the 7 car is going to try and slide in front of his teammate there in the 85. He's going to successfully pull off that move. I'm wondering if that is kind of orchestrated here, seeing that the 8 car is up front. The 85 and the 7 may be thinking, hey man, if he wins, I need to finish really well for some points here, so get me up front to try and break up this little duo. That's certainly what I would be thinking if I was in the car of the 7 of Benjamin Lacey there. But yeah, these couple guys up here in front, they are certainly not paying any attention to how many laps we have left, because they are racing like it's the last lap.
Yeah, just want to remind you guys of where guys sat as of lap 36. So again, we've made some progress here. Spots have switched around in the last 20 laps, but the overall kind of environment of this race was that really favorable spot for Benjamin Lacey. He sat 17 points above the cutoff. That is going to still be the case approximately after the last 20 laps. But Ricky Hart Jr. is the guy that I'm questioning. He's starting to drop a little bit in the order. He was much further up, now down to 13th in that third pack, not even second pack here at this point. Ricky Hart Jr. really out of that front group, has to start making progress back towards the front, or else he might find himself getting jumped by his teammate Christopher Hamilton, who currently sits in the 8th position. Another quiet race here for Christopher Hamilton. Let's talk a little bit about him, Chris, because he's sitting there right behind Connor Gibson, who was in that front group, has since fallen out. Really quiet night, staying out of trouble, and I think early in the season, when he was so fast, he was so dominant each week and was in that front group, where we were just waiting for that win. I think that first win story has kind of fallen into the background, and he's just that one guy that always seems to be up there above that cutoff line, and if not above, just narrowly below. Tonight would still come out of this race here above the green. If Foster wins, would jump up there with him, and I think right now would be a battle between the 15 and the 1 car to knock out the other here as far as teammates. But yeah, 15 car doing what he has to do, but his narrative has kind of changed, hasn't it? I feel like we were talking about him more as a week-to-week win contender, whereas now we're talking about him as a long-term, maybe Championship 4 contender that could get a title this year.
And I think that's kind of his focus. I don't think that he's necessarily focused on the win. Obviously, you come out to every single race and you want to win, but I think he himself right now is probably just focused on, let me make sure I'm putting myself in position to transfer, and then obviously you want to go win the big one, right? You want to go win at Homestead and win the championship and take home the big trophy. You know, that would certainly be a nice first win in a while for him. But one thing that is interesting is, let's say this race ends right now. Kevin Foster is coming into this race was on the opposite side of the bubble, so he was in the red. He would jump to the positive side of the bubble where he would be locked in, and what that does is that kind of consolidates all of the other drivers down. So, you know, that I believe would actually hurt guys like Mark Allen Bivens and Brett Guzik here tonight, because you're taking a guy that you were fighting against and he's locking himself in, and the people that you're now fighting against already have a bigger points advantage on you. I'm sure that we'll see that later on in the graphic there, or post race we'll be able to talk about that if that's the circumstances that end up happening. But there's certainly some little games within the game here that you have to pay attention to when you're fighting for a championship.
That's a great point, and it would make the tough part is that Lacey is so far above the points right now that if Foster was able to get the win tonight, and obviously we are just about to hit the halfway point tonight's race. There's a lot more racing left to go, but if that is the case, and it is going to be Foster's race to kind of to throw away here, or at least himself or a Lacey up front, it is really going to make it tough on the other guys, because Lacey wins. I mean, he's already 17 points above. That's basically just a spot that's all but locked up right now. As we see, Akar really aggressive block on the 7. He got a little bit loose, but a spot that's virtually locked up now, getting officially locked up, that's not a very big deal. But what it would be is like a 97 car of Eddie Haggy, guy who's 7 spots below the cutoff as of lap 36, to jump all the way up into the yellow there in the gold to be locked in, move Lacey down to the next spot, and then the cutoff moves way higher. Like Foster's probably sitting 10 above the cutoff right now. If you're 10 above anybody else that's got to make the playoffs, that puts all the pressure on a Christopher Hamilton or a Mark Allen Bivens, or especially a Brett Guzik. Just so tough. If you're one of these guys and you see like you're saying here, Chris, a rival get the win, it's just so disheartening for your overall championship pursuits.
Yeah, absolutely. And what that does is just create more drama, right? So what that would essentially do is you'd be battling with Ricky Hart Jr. there for that last transfer spot into the next round. And obviously with his performance here at this point in the race with that early wreck and not necessarily running in the most ideal position here on track compared to his teammates, that ups the pressure for him. And what does more pressure do? That makes some mistakes. So that's certainly something we're gonna have to keep our eyes on as this race continues to develop. But these guys are racing here. I saw the two of Nick Dickerson get a little bit sideways a couple laps prior with a little bit of contact with Paul Wilson there, as you're seeing the 97 car jump in front of the car of Paul Wilson there, and it looks like he's trying to get to work here on this 2 car. But man, These guys do not care. Like I said, they're racing like it's the last couple laps here as we're seeing this 85 car looking to the outside of the 8. He's going to have some momentum, but he has no help from behind, so he's going to have to fall back in. But 7 car was real aggressive getting up there as we're seeing the 85 car get aggressive. He's going to take that run that he had coming out of the corner, a little bit of slipstream. He's going to try and make it work on this 8 of Kevin Foster, but I don't think he's going to quite have enough steam to get there. Ooh, man, that's tight.
Yeah.
That is tight between the 85 and the 97, and we saw those guys get together at Chicagoland, and that really that messed up the championship hopes for at least one of them, where we saw the 85 car take a poor performance, and that put him on a bad set of scenarios going into Talladega, and ultimately didn't end up transferring. But just like that, just restack this this top group here, and that 8 car starting to break away a little bit. So we'll see if he can kind of maintain that breakaway as these guys continue to jockey for position behind him.
I'm really amazed here by the just, I mean, not in an offensive way, but just the lack of progress from the number 1 car. Shocking to me right now. He's in the second group. I like where he is strategically. And in the grand scheme of things, he's only 3.5 seconds back at your race leader, Kevin Foster, but really not even making progress in that second line. He's not moving up to the front. He's not getting racy like Hamilton is to try to stay at the front of that group if and when something goes wrong. Is now Haggy on the attack for the race lead on the outside of Kevin Foster. But yeah, just that 1 car there was so good at the beginning, was so dominant, and now is looking like he's kind of fallen out of touch here as the 97 car going to get kind of washed out and cycle to the back as that train on the inside forms up, and will push him all the way back to 6th.
That's just how quickly it happens there. You can see that he just had no help there when he went to go on the attack of the 8 there. And you have affiliate teams, you have satellite teams, whatever you want to call it. This you know, front 6 here is 4 cars semi working together there, excuse me, with the outlier of Paul Wilson and Eddie Haggy. These guys are in communication with each other, but Kevin Foster is still being able to manage that as the 97 car is going to come down pit road. Remember, he did not pit on that last caution, so this is going to be crucial. How much extra fuel do these guys have, and how much help will the other drivers pitting with him be to him? This is huge for his championship hopes, as he can quickly find himself cycled out of that lead pack.
I'll tell you right now, it won't be too long before these other guys come down, because we got a 25 to 27 lap fuel estimate, and drivers pitted 28 laps ago. So it's not going to be long. His 97 car slides through the box under green. We'll only lose about 1.5 seconds, but that time is crucial here under green flag pit stops here, Chris. That is those little intangibles I talk about every week. You need them, and that was an example of when they get pushed to the wayside. Here comes the GFR guys. 8 car into pit road, 2 car into pit road. Both should make the pit road speeding line, but boy howdy, the 8 car got loose. Saves it though. Now it's 785 plus Paul Wilson, the last drivers left on the lead lap.
Yeah, that 97 car has to minimize mistakes here getting off pit road and try to make up for that there. Hopefully he can latch onto the back bumper of one of those cars in front of him and kind of drag him along, but that will certainly hurt him if he is too far away from that 10 car. That will definitely probably take him out of that lead pack there that we saw him just racing in. So we'll have to see how they all cycle out, but obviously a lot of racing to go here as we continue to progress through this rather long race.
Kevin Foster going to beat his teammate out of pit road here. It's going to be the 8, the 2, and the 44. Going to be the first 3 off of that second lap of pit road. And then after that, here they come, 75 teammates down into pit lane. So it's going to be Lacey in the box. He misses his box, slides through diagonally. The 85 car will take the advantage here, and they may be so far apart on exit, they may not be able to bunch up again. These mistakes on pit road, brutal today.
Yeah, that is the worst case scenario for that 7 car, who we saw him get pretty aggressive. Mistake doesn't look that bad. There's going to definitely be a gap, but I think that's still manageable as they get up through the gears here. We'll see how they kind of separate, but you're going to see the 8 and the 2 kind of just drive on by like nothing ever happened there. So they're going to have some work to do together here to kind of get back to those guys. But yeah, some pit road strategy here is definitely going to separate the field here, and mistakes on pit road are certainly playing a factor here, as we're going to see the 7 car fall all the way back to the front bumper of that 97.
Yeah, 7 car going to be back there quite a ways. At least he's got the 10 car Matt Crockett for draft help right now. Well, the Matt Crockett, same strategy. Not sure how tires work, but Matt Crockett, props to him. And same with Dawson Guzik. Guzik back in the top 5 where he finished for the first time last week. Back up there again in good contention for the 44 cars. So he's really turned a corner here in his season. Really getting hot here at the end as of late. 7 car, though. Got to go catch his teammate. Wilson's going to be able to help Welch here in the short term. And already these guys making good lap times here, starting to catch the 2 leaders up front. But that gap there off of 1 lap, they're only going to have 1 lap's worth of tire advantage, will these 2 guys, because they pitted 1 lap later. Could play a role over the course of the whole stint, but I mean, it's going to be big here, Chris, them trying to make up that gap. But if they can make it back up, even as something as small as a 1 lap tire advantage could play a role by the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that's probably going to be to the benefit of a Nickerson or a Kevin Foster is that they know that these guys have to come and run them down, and it's not an easy task to do. So if Nickerson's probably telling Foster there, hey, let's dial it back a little bit. They're going to catch us eventually. We know that. So let's just dial it back and try to save a little fuel, save a little tire, so that way when they do get here, we can be more competitive and be a little bit more racy, because we know they're going to get here eventually. So that may be something that's going through their minds, but it's also Nick Nickerson, and he could be saying, yeah, full steam ahead. Let's keep trying to keep this thing as long as we're up front. So we'll have to see how that develops. But yeah, it's kind of like shades of the old Talladega Carve Tomorrow kind of thing here, where we have this tandem racing here. We have two tandems here trying to battle for the lead, and let's see if one can catch the other. But that secondary pack has kind of formed up with Benjamin Lacey leading that, and you're seeing Benjamin Lacey with the help of David Lakey, who was involved in an earlier wreck, start to make some headway on his teammate of Cody Welch there. So we'll see if this pack of about 6 cars can try to reduce that gap back up to the front there. But one guy that I'm trying to keep my eye on here is Ricky Hart Jr. He is just outside of the aero advantage of the car in front of him, which would be Jason Greenwell. He is sitting back here in 13th position, so he's going to need to make up some ground, and those 3 cars are going to have to work together. Don't fight each other too much. Just work together to try to get back to that pack, so that way you can try to put yourself back in contention as you see Ricky Hart get that slipstream, and he's going to easily get in front of that 44 car. So I'm not sure if those guys are down on speed, but Ricky will certainly have some work cut out for him as he tries to get himself back into this thing. But just to kind of cover that gap back up front here, still Cody Welch and Paul Wilson. They're making some ground up on these 2 drivers up front of the GFR guys, the 8 and Kevin, or 8 of Kevin Foster and the 2 of Nick Nickerson. They're certainly making up some ground, but they still have some ways to go.
Yeah, Cody Welch will put up his Skype camera here. You see him running live with Paul Wilson. That gap now down to about 9/10 from Wilson and Nickerson. And remember, you don't have to worry about Wilson's gap to Foster. You have to worry about his gap to Nickerson. And that's how they'll be able to kind of bridge that gap a little bit and get close enough that they can attack. But I'm looking here at the points. We're about to show you the live update. And Chris, it is getting so tight here for that cutoff spot. It's going to be Lacey. It's going to be hard above the cutoff line right now. Foster will tie Hamilton right now. If he doesn't win the race, but he stays in his current position on points, if he were to finish second, for example, he would be 1 spot below Hamilton. He really needs this win to be in a favorable spot in the last 2 races, but at least he'd be competitive with his teammate if he came out of tonight but wasn't the race winner.
Yeah, you know, that's just kind of probably what Nickerson's thinking right now is that, you know, I can put 2 of my drivers in a scenario here where, you know, we can put ourselves in a favorable spot going into 2 remaining races in this round. So that is definitely huge here as we're going into some more technical tracks as we look ahead to Phoenix and Richmond. Some tracks that some drivers can have a lot of difficulties at, but one driver that definitely doesn't have any difficulties at is Nick Nickerson at Phoenix. That guy is a pretty much automatic there, kind of like Kevin Harvick back in the day there. Pretty much put that 2 car out on track. You know that you're running second to him here at his hometown track. So we'll have to see how it all shapes out. But again, Nick Nickerson is locked in to race for another championship and defend his title. But he's trying to drag his friends along with him. And as of right now, that's looking pretty promising.
Yeah, it really is. And we saw in the background there, I thought my eyes were deceiving me, but you do see a little bit of outside damage. Cody Welch slapped the wall pretty fairly. I wouldn't say it was absolutely race-ending, but hit it pretty hard there on the outside coming into turn number 1 a few of those laps ago. We'll see how that damage pays off long-term as far as lap over lap aerodynamics. It's been unclear so far tonight how big the role that will play. And as there we go, they have caught the field officially, 86 and 85 car. We'll see if that momentum carries. A big push there from the 85 car to the 86 of Wilson. And the 84 cars behind them. We're counting up the number line quite nicely here in this section of the group. But boy, howdy, is it getting tight here, Chris, for the points. So we're just about to put the graphic up here. But again, tie on points right now for Hamilton and Foster. Then Hagee 1 spot behind. Nivens then a big jump back by, well, big jump, only 7 points below the cutoff he's going to be as these guys keep moving back. His spot gets more and more favorable even though he's out of the race. But it really is Guzik right now in that unfavorable spot. He is going to be, as we sit live, 18 points below the cutoff coming out of tonight's race.
Yeah, and as we're looking ahead, I know we were talking about him coming into this race, what we're trying to expect for him to do. You know, he is certainly probably in that position where he needs to win. And like I said, it's not necessarily unlikely for him to do so, like go out and win at any of these upcoming tracks, but it certainly ups the pressure on that team and on him because he's also battling another teammate from the currently outside of the bubble. So that also adds another dynamic to it. So, man, it's certainly looking a little bit different than it was last time around. We were in a transfer position for those BC Simsport boys. Those guys had that kind of figured out there at Talladega, getting those 2 cars into this round. So it's looking like it might be a little tough getting into the next round, but we'll see what they got for them next week. But they certainly have their work cut out for them.
Ricky Hart's gap was as high as 12 above the cutoff line tonight, now down to +3, although he has taken since then 2 positions to move up into the 10th spot. So back to the top 10 here, Chris. That's at least something for him, but yeah, not the pace tonight. He was showing early on and not the pace he's looking to have. And I think to be that close above the cutoff line, especially with your teammates, the guys you're battling against, not what you want to hope for if you're Ricky Hart Jr. You don't want those to be the guys that you're worried about battling next week at Richmond, because that's when the whole team dynamic starts to become more of a curse than it is a gift.
Yeah, and speaking of team dynamics, like I had mentioned earlier, I think this 2 car is going to be working with the 8 the best he can. And one thing you got to consider here is he cannot defend multiple cars. He can only defend against one of these guys, and both of the car of Paul Wilson and car of Cody Welch here, they're both super hungry for a win. Obviously, they've been showing a great deal of speed here tonight, and if this is how this thing shapes up, that's going to be very tough for that 2 car of Nick Nickerson. So he's going to have to defend one of them, but when he goes to do that, that's going to mean that he's opening the door for the other one. And I think that the person in the best position at this point is that 85 car, because he will be the second person to get defended against, and he knows that that 2 car cannot cover that much ground. So we'll have to see how that shapes up if this continues to go this way. But yeah, this front pack here is certainly showing the speed needed to try and get this win tonight.
Like, that's why this track always makes for good finishes. It's just so much racing room in terms of width. It's so wide. There's so much track position to use to your advantage. Yeah, and I think the last lap, that's what the problem that Jason Greenwell had in his finish last year, is he made such an aggressive dive to the bottom at the end that he got loose. Guys got into each other. It's just in the heat of the moment, you just kind of let your instincts take over, and it's not the logical, true talent these guys all have that is determining their moves. It's just their head and their heart, and more so their heart than anything, and just knowing they want to win so bad. That's where the mistakes tend to happen. It's what we've seen from Cody Welch before. He, as we see Bill Harkins here, going to kind of throw a wrench in the plans of these guys. Foster's actually going to get a few car lines as a result. But it is when Cody Welch really gets in his emotions, and he's trying to draw out all that pace, and he gets faster, but he gets more likely to make those mistakes. Tonight, that's going to be, I think, his biggest priority, is just don't make those little mistakes here late. We already saw him tap the wall in 1, but he appears to still have speed. You got nothing to lose if you're Cody. You're not on that playoff graphic on the right-hand side, though you were so close last week. So not a ton of worries, I would say, but just, I don't know. I think be smart. I think play it cool. And let the race come to you. We got 40 more laps here at Michigan. We got time, but just bring it home. Don't try to remake the wheel here.
Yeah, and as we speak on that, drivers that are going to be trying to catch these guys to kind of spoil that party is that secondary pack, starting with Benjamin Lacey And following another playoff contender, Christopher Hamilton here, who, as we looked at your graphic, is pretty much tied for the bubble spot as it stands. So these guys are trying to get back there, and they've definitely chipped away at it. That included Eddie Hagge as well in that group. So they're chipping away at it, but they still have a lot of work to do as they try to cycle back up to the front. But it's about, I would say, a half of a straightaway behind, but they do have more cars. They do have the lap cars of Ulrich and Harkins in here, but they don't seem to be playing too much of a factor into their speed. But that will certainly help that secondary group kind of get an extra toe, as they'll kind of be able to pull themselves along and pick their way up through this. So I think it's only a matter of time for that secondary group gets up here, but does it come before or after this next round of pit stops?
Yeah, that's really going to be the question. And right now they're about a tenth or two faster every lap, although last time by they were about dead even. In fact, they were a little bit slower than the front group. So it doesn't seem to be very uniform, and I really think it's going to be fun to watch the 3 different race teams, actually 4 different race teams, made up of Lacey, Hamilton, Lakey, Gibson. Different teams representing those 4 drivers. These guys that normally have no reason to work together. And same with Hagge. There's not really going to be much team affiliation working together here in the second line, but they all have to work for the common goal here, as Dawson Guzik and Jason Greenwell going to come down pit road here to both take their service. Going to be currently looking at 37 laps to go in tonight's race. Going to have to make one more pit stop here if we stay green to the end. And yeah, I'm hoping they do work together in that second group, because for all the teamwork that's going on here at the front, Welch just kind of hung out to dry. Wilson, not a teammate of his, but they're doing a good job to stay together, not really upset each other's race. There is not as much, I think, team affiliation going on there in the second group, and if there is, we'll get a really fun 9-car battle for the win if we go to the end under green. If we don't, it's these 4 cars who are going to absolutely deserve to be fighting exclusively at the front here. But boy, it would be a lot more exciting to have 9 cars up here instead of 4, I'll say that much.
Yeah, and with how this strategy is working out, these cars, if Dawson Guzik and Jason Greenwell are coming down, I'm going to assume that these other cars will be following them here soon. And that will mean that they will have to pit with 5 to 10 laps remaining in the race. And what does that mean? So that means that drivers are going to be trying to get everything they can to just execute that splash of fuel and go and get back out on track. And you're going to assume that drivers are probably going to use all their tires with this last pit stop here. So that very last pit stop is going to be super, super crucial because you will not have tires and you will have to get up and go as fast as you can. So, yeah, the way this race is shaping up is certainly becoming a lot more exciting as the laps progress. But we're seeing this little bit of a breakaway here as we're starting to get that 2-car tandem. That will certainly help that secondary pack there as these guys break apart.
Just want to quickly touch here with Sean Britt, the Rollsville, North Carolina native, currently sitting in the 13th position. Was quick early, has kind of fallen out of contention, and now sits potentially going to go a lap down as he's driven pretty much solo for the last 30 to 20-ish laps. Just not the night he was hoping for, had a lot of speed early. But next week is your race sponsor at Richmond. We'll see if potentially his fortunes turn around there, but right now it is all Foster and Nickerson, the 2 teammates. We're going to quickly go to a quick commercial here for something very near and dear to our hearts here at the Bandit Racing League. Is our very own merch store here at GeezerAuthentics.com. Geezer Authentics is your place for all things Bandit Racing League merchandise. You want shirts, you want hoodies, drinkware, wall hangings, a variety of great products. Here you see the Brett the Jet new merchandise for Brett Guzik, driver of the 04 car. Unfortunately, his night ended prematurely after an incident with his very own brother. It's not the night he was hoping for Brett Guzik, but if you want to get some more merch to support him or the series as a whole, that is a great way to do it. Don't forget, proceeds from the Geezer Authentics, there we go. Geezer Authentics merch go back to the league, and remember there's hats, there's a variety of cool products like stickers as well, and those prices may be in Canadian. They are even cheaper in American dollar because Canadian dollar is worth as much as a bag of nickels. So it is truly a good time to get some merchandise here as we come towards the end of season number 11 here in the Bandit Racing League. If you want to support the series, that is a great way to do so. Speaking of
watching.
Speaking of battles here, just want to quickly touch on quick battle for 16th going down here. This is what we want to report. Jason Greenwell right now duking it out with Dawson Guzik in a race that I jinxed him really early on. Before we even got to the pre-race sponsor, I just really was hoping Jason Greenwell was going to have the circumstance tonight to match his ability here at at Michigan. Unfortunately, didn't work out for him. Will not be able to go for the win, at least not the way it's shaping up right now, as he almost did last season, or sorry, 2 seasons ago. But just wanted to touch on that battle. It's pretty close fighting right now, but as you see the 10 car and the 12 car go to the bottom, your top 4 continue to dominate.
We should see these guys coming down pit road here if the 10 car is coming out of his service. The 84 car sounds like he's going to be pitting in. So we're going to start seeing these guys pit here. This pit stop is super crucial. It's almost as crucial as the last one. For that secondary group, they need to get on and off pit road clean and all together. They cannot waste any time trying to bunch back up and gain ground on these guys. If they want to close that gap, they got to do it early. And yeah, this is going to be the money stop for them here.
Steve Ulrich will come in here for pit service in the 15th position, but yeah, other than that, on the racetrack, it remains the battle of 4, and the order hasn't really changed at all in this current stint. Although Bill Harkins on fresh tires is going to jump back in front of the leaders and will kind of provide a slipstream here, lap after lap to these guys. I know he's on fresher tires, but these guys should be able to catch up with him for at least a couple laps. Benefit from the tow that he provides, although they're getting a little bit far back there, so maybe not. Sean Britt now down pit road here to take his service as well, but it really is shaping up to be those leaders unless we do get a caution or unless we see some big mistakes from those guys at the front. Maybe not all 4, but at least enough that it foundationally shakes up that easy running order they've had, that single file line. Maybe you get guys out of order, not able to work together quite as well, and the second pack starts to catch. Made up good ground that lap. A little bit of momentum there for Benjamin Lacey to Cody Welch, but it's really been stagnant here lately. As we see Ricky Hart Jr. down pit road, the 1 car. Not been the night he's been looking for so far. Can this final pit stop, or not final pit stop, we got one more pit stop after this. Unless he can really take that fuel to the end, and that becomes the next story here, Chris. 29 laps left to the finish. Do you think these guys, as the 8 and the 2 car pit, do you think they can go all the way to the finish? As so does the 7. Lacey comes down as well.
Oh, it's going to be tight, right? They're going to try and stretch it the best they can, but it's going to be super tight. And this is now another race within the race, right? Can they manage the fuel while racing for the lead? Oh man, this is gonna get exciting. I know that the 7 car said he was pitting, and everybody behind him said, "Nope, we're staying out one more." So yeah, these guys they're going for it. All these guys are gonna try and stretch the fuel the best they can, and you're gonna see that other 4 or was a 6 car group. Now it's down to a 4 car group. They're gonna all come down together. I think that's really beneficial to them. Can they get cleanly on and off pit road here without any penalties or trouble? Is the big question here. But you should see that group of Nickerson, Foster, Welch, and Wilson all bunch back up here in short order. But that 85 car and the 86 have decided to stay out a little bit longer. So maybe put a little bit of extra fuel in the tank, just saying, hey, we can run a little bit longer. We might as well go for it and make sure we have enough fuel to the finish. I think they will be good. But the guys that pitted at the top of this this fuel strategy or the pit window here, I think they will be kind of cutting it a little close, so we'll have to see how that all factors out.
Yeah, don't forget, these guys pitted a lap later on the previous stint, and I think you're right. I think those 2 can, not comfortably, but I think they can go to the end without the need for too much saving. So that's going to be massive, and this is where those earlier pit decisions to come in early or come in later relative to Foster and Nickerson, I think this is where it really pays off. Not only do I think they could come out of pit road ahead because of the less time they take the fuel, but I also think they will be more likely to make it to the end of the race, and that's why you make those pit decisions early in the event, because they lead to good outcomes here late. And don't forget as well, some of these guys pitted on 97 instead of 96, so Hamilton, Lakey, Hagee, and Gibson may benefit from some extra fuel. But here we go. Wilson and Welch off of pit road. There go your 2 race leaders. And that extra lap of tire wear is already going to make them up that much track position. But don't forget, Wilson and Welch going to have a better chance of going to the finish on their tank of fuel.
And at this point, I'm going to assume that when it comes down to it, if it's just these 2 cars up front, the 8 and the 2 is probably going to pull aside and let the 8 go by if it comes down to just them 2. Because that will lock his other teammate into the playoffs. But as we sit right now, he is not necessarily locked in. He will be very close on points, but he will not be locked in at this given point in time. So that's something to also keep your eye on if Nick decides to go for the win. But I just, based on his comments in previous races, I think that he will let his teammate, by team orders, take that position and lock himself into the next round. So we'll see how that all factors out. But that 86 and that 85, they have some work cut out for them. They are going to have to get going. But another guy that benefited from that pit window there is the 7-car Benjamin Lacey. Look how close he is to the back bumper of that 85.
Oh,
Still got a little bit of ways to go, but he's probably going to get that sniff here shortly, and I wouldn't be surprised if that 85 car is maybe lifting a little bit to say, all right, let me let my buddy catch up to me here so I have someone familiar pushing me to the front.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a case where Lacey goes out of his way to get up here to these guys in front and team up with his teammate, and I think that'll be a good dynamic, a better dynamic to chase down the front group than the one we saw from that second pack on the last stint, because Lacey cannot have Foster win. I think you're right. I think Nickerson, I don't think he'll just absolutely give it away, but I think a one-on-one battle, I think Foster in a position where he's racing a teammate rather than somebody a little bit more aggressive for the position. That's the worst thing Lacey can see, because if Foster wins, that bumps him into an even tighter race for position. And I know, again, he's favorable in points, but he's not locked in. And you talked about it earlier there, Chris. You get a guy who's not in a super great points position, jump up all those spots to take an automatic win in the automatic buy into the next round. That can spell doom for these guys that feel comfort in the points now, but would not if another guy got a win. So go catch him, Lacey. Go get Welch and see if the two teammates can go try to bump the top two off the order for the first time in a very long number of laps.
And one thing you do have to remember is that Lacey right now, in that kind of no man's land of having no drafting help, he is burning more fuel than anybody. And he was one of the first cars on pit road out of this top group. I would say it was Lacey and then the 8 and the 2. So that is something to keep your eye on, as you know, the 2 and the 8 are going to be burning a lot of fuel as they're all up by themselves, but that 7 car is certainly burning a lot of fuel, being the lone car on the track. But again, the 2 car is still up front, with the 8 just tailing him behind, and I wonder if that is also a strategy play to let his teammate just kind of use the draft there to save himself some fuel, sacrificing himself to make sure that his teammate, his counterpart there, has enough fuel. But seeing the 8 car getting hung up behind this 12 of Bill Harkins, and what is that doing there? That is pulling the 86 and the 85 right up to this group, and in short order here, you're going to see the 2, the 8, and the 86 and 85 all fighting for the lead again.
Yeah, this is brutal stuff here if you're a fan of particularly the number 8 car, because Harkins really parking the bus. Here comes the 86 car, going to fly right by, and that tire advantage going to be crucial. 3 wide go Foster and Welch over top of the slower than the rest of this pack, Harkins on old tires. So 1 lap car. We haven't talked about lap traffic much tonight, especially at the wider track, but you get a lap car right in the groove, and that can throw off your whole rhythm.
And look what that did, that letting the 2 get so far out there. Look how much momentum he's lost, and it's almost like he's not even in the throttle there, but he certainly is. It's just the lack of drafting help, and that's kind of the story of what just happened there. Now we're all back to where we were, almost. The 8 is behind the 2. We have the 86 and the 85 teamed up, and now they have to put in some work. And I don't know if they're gonna ride here a little bit, save a little fuel, make sure they have enough to make it to the end, and then once they know they're in the good, they're gonna go as Toto Wolff tells Lewis, it's hammer time. So I'm wondering if that's what we're gonna get here. But another thing that I heard that I found quite funny, and I know that it was probably a little bit of a play, but the 15 of Christopher Hamilton told the 84 of David Lakey, hey man, I think that we're better off when you're out front. I think that's code for saying, get out in front of me so I can use the drafting help to save some fuel and make sure I make it to the finish. In the nicest way possible. But I love that stuff. We have Bill Harkins in the wall.
Oh, caution comes out. This race that seemed like it was a foregone conclusion for one of the 86 or 85 suddenly gets interesting again. That 12 car, 3rd incident of the day, and is going to make this race a little bit more exciting. Just hit the wall. Just run under green. Just tapped it in 2 coming off the corner, and then massive shunt off the inside of the line. It only seems fitting for the founder of the series to get to produce an entertaining racing product here as he causes the wreck that really bunches this field up. Going to put us to green with about 16 to go. It's going to be Paul Wilson, race leader here, coming into the final segment. I think if you have any tires here, Chris, this is when you go grab that spare rubber and increase your lap times as best you possibly can.
Oh, absolutely. If you have tires in the pits, you're coming to get them right now. Especially if you're one of these cars a little bit on the tail end of the pack, as we have Nolan Gross is the first car in the lead lap in 13th position. So if you're back there, I would even come in and just top off on fuel. I know that this caution is probably going to help you save a little bit. You can clutch it, shut off the motor, and kind of just roll. But you might see these guys coming down. If they have tires, they're going to come grab them. But some of these guys might come and get security blanket and make sure they have enough fuel in case there is a green-white checker. Because now we're going to ramp up the pressure. You're going to see the 8, the 2. What else we have coming down here? Eddie Haggie's coming down. 7 of Lacey's coming down. So all these guys are getting that security blanket and getting that extra fuel and maybe extra tires. So if any of these guys have tires in the pits, watch out for them because they are going to be flying.
Yeah, any of these guys got tires, they are the race favorite. If they have tires, the 85 and 86 races just got totally put into question. No tires for Foster, no tires for Nickerson, no tires for anybody. Here we go. It's just going to be a fuel battle. What do you think of that call here? The 2 and the 8 will lose 5 positions each. They take the safety blanket on fuel. Lacey does not. Lacey does. Hamilton does. Gross does. Hart does. I like that call for Hart. Could potentially work out his way to put him back maybe in the top 5 as he races Dawson Guzikov pit road. But Wilson and Welch, they're going to be still in a more advantageous tire spot. They start back at the front of the field. I don't mind this whatsoever. I like the position they're in, and I think the only way this benefits is, if we do get a green-white checkered, which we might, but we're going to have done 15 laps by then. I think the field will have spread out a little bit. I don't know how likely, I don't mean to jinx it again, especially not for Cody Welch in a race where it would be against his strategy for another caution, but I don't think it's quite as likely as usual.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, absolutely right. I don't think that we will see another caution. I mean, I hope not. I want to see this thing go to the end because one thing that I did notice throughout this race was that 8 and that 2, especially the 8, real aggressive with their moves, and they were able to kind of slice through traffic, at will, basically. So I want to see if that 8 can get back up there because that, I mean, just the playoff implications for him would be huge. First win in a while, and the playoff implications would be huge. So that would be very interesting to see if they can make this the strategy work and kind of run themselves back up to the front just basically at their own will. But it would also be very interesting to see if we do get another caution here, what that means for these guys up front. They will have to pit, and that essentially puts the reverse order on what we have right now. And that will mean that all those guys that just stayed out, we're going to have to go back behind those drivers there. So, yeah, this is certainly shaping up to be interesting. There's a lot of different scenarios that can play out. But one thing I do know is that, traditionally speaking, the top line hasn't been getting going here, and the 86 has chosen the top line. So we're going to have to see how this works out. I don't know if this is kind of like a, hey, we're teammates for the time being. We've been working well together all race. Let's continue to work together. Or are we going to see this 97 or 84 try to put themselves into the equation here?
Just doing the math here in the background here, Chris. We won't put the graphic up here this time, but I will give you guys the update on where we sit live on points verbally as we get ready to go for potentially tonight's final green flag restart. And it's looking, once again, very dicey, very interesting. Hart still in a favorable spot despite being in the mid to back section of the field here. And after the update, still Guzik and Bivens at the bottom of the pack. But now it would be a tie between Haggie and Hart for the final playoff spot. Then an 8-point jump back to Hamilton. Then with Foster moving towards the back of the field here, it would then be another 5-point jump back to Foster. So Foster over 10 points down if he finishes all the way back where he is here. He needs a good performance tonight. Wilson will take us to green here. Wilson, 85-86, green flag here with 15 to go at Michigan in the home race for Cody Welch. He wants this win, but Eddie Haggie suddenly in contention, finds himself in second with a good run to turn number 1.
Yeah, talking about trying to spoil this thing. He said, all right, I'm going to take your teammate and see if I can run with it. But look who's making their way back up here. That 2 car, he's finding his way. 7 cars finding their way. All these cars that just pitted, they're finding their ways. We got cars going around. Kevin Foster.
Foster's in it. A variety of cars stuck as the camera glitches out. 1 car's in it too. GFR Racing. Half the representatives caught in one wreck here. Cautions breeding cautions. Hart and Foster are in it, and that could not have gone any worse for 2 guys that I was just talking about are in very precarious points positions.
And I don't mean to make a pun on words here, but that is absolutely heartbreaking for those guys in that scenario there. I mean, like Foster, who's been leading such a large portion of this race, just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time, and obviously his teammates involved there. His teammate, let me mind you, used his fast repair already So that may be game over for him tonight. And I don't know if he'll have how much repairs he'll have to do, but like I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, any bit of damage at this racetrack here is going to definitely hurt your race car. So that is a tough break for Ricky Hart, as we were talking about it in the beginning of it. He doesn't necessarily need to go out and win this race. He just needs to have a solid race tonight. And man, it's been a tough night for him. So we'll have to see how that factors out with his damage repairs. And I'm sure that the 8 car has a set of fast repairs in the pits there. So we'll see how that works out for him. But we were just saying, hey, no more cautions. We're good. We're going to run to the end. And here we are. Some of our contenders were involved with it, but you just never know here at the Bandit Racing League.
Had an interesting comment there in the chat, just to give us a heads up. Steve Ulrich in that 25 car, maybe a lap down, but he did take tires there on that last pit stop, so that could potentially come into the equation if he can get back on the lead lap here. Maybe a factor here late, but Gibson, Guzik, Foster, and Hart going to be the guys coming down pit road this time. Everybody else will stay out because, again, no need for pit service, no need for a tire advantage, and we're going to put that gap together here, or sorry, the graphic, I should say, together for the points after that wreck with Foster and Hart in mind heading into the last 10 lap stint as Crocker almost hits the 86 car going around there to take his extra lap. So where we sit right now in the playoffs, we got 3 races to go after this week. It's a lot of exciting racing left in the season, but we have a little bit of time here. I'm going to throw it to you, Chris. I know the future of the rest of the season here is pretty certain. We know where we're going in terms of races, but I know you have some things to say in regards to kind of your future with the rest of the season. So I'll give you the floor here as we get the graphic ready.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been certainly a blast to be up here in the booth, but here next week at Richmond will be my last time in the booth for this season and for the future. I mean, maybe I'll pop in for some broadcasts here and there, but just with my personal career and my military schedule, I just unfortunately cannot commit to continue to broadcast. But I just want to say thank you to all the fans, and especially to you, Marshall, for allowing me the opportunity to be up here. It's been so much fun, and it's kind of given me a different perspective on racing here on iRacing, and it's just been an absolute blast to do this. And we've had a great season up until this point, and I think we've done this for about two and a half seasons where I was in and out of the booth. But yeah, it's been such a fun ride, and the season's been so great. And unfortunately, I won't be able to be there at the championship night, and hopefully you have a great special guest. I won't spoil anything here for you, but hopefully you have a great special guest to kind of fill that role for you, and that way you can call some good races. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast, and just thanks again for the opportunity, and thank you for all the fans at home that tune in and watch us talk. I know that I'd like to say I'm the Clint Boyer of the booth, where I just kind of babble and say some ridiculous things, but I definitely try my best to be up here. And yeah, thank you once again to everybody for allowing me to talk here on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, as we pace here waiting for the final restart. Yeah, it's heartbreaking we won't be able to have you join us here for the finale to the season, especially with, I know, really, really good races in store. We're going to have the rest of the way through. But, I mean, Chris, just kind of thinking back, do you have a particular moment, kind of a particular broadcast memory that maybe you'll remember most fondly for the rest of your time here knowing Bandit?
Man, that finish from Eddie Hagge is kind of a friend of mine here. And that finish at Talladega was quite insane. But, just this season as a whole has been so much fun. And the performances that we've seen out of these drivers has been so incredible to watch. So grateful that I've been able to help you call these races, and grateful that we've been able to watch these spectacular finishes. But we certainly have a spectacular finish here for us in store tonight. And we still have another race to go here, folks, with me and Marshall in the booth. So we'll definitely have some fun here one more time next week. But yeah, let's get this one in the books and see if this one will be one of those core memories for me.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out. We'll certainly hope so. But thank you, Chris. Thank you for everything you've done here for the series. And here we go. I'll throw it to you here, Chris, taking us to maybe our final caution of the night. Final restart. Let's do it here at Michigan.
So the 86 and the 97 have a good restart. Let's see if the 85 can lock up with this 97. Looks like he's going to. I think that's going to be the advantage for P2 going into the corner. Looks like the 85 may bail on the 97. This is huge here. They know it's go time. This is for the win. They know we have to go here. 86 is going to drop down in front of that 97. It's going to channel all that momentum, but I think that the 97 is going to be kind of hung out to dry here. He's going to be looking to fill that top lane as soon as he can.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right here. You got to get going some good forward momentum if you're Haggy. You can't let the number 2 car just dominate here at this point because we know he was fast earlier. He knows how to control a field, and now he's going to be the guy to try to do it here. Coming up to 12 to go here. Goes Nickerson to the bottom, all the way to the apron. 2 car going to lead the lap. The 85 and 86 going to have a good run on the outside line.
Those 2 guys have locked back up again. 2 friends for this race, at least, have found some good chemistry here. And they've certainly kind of rekindled that here late in this race, so we'll see if that pays off. But, yeah, Kevin Foster also making some payback here, finding his way back into the fight. Not over for him yet, but the 2 car dropping like a rock because the 85 is going to go to the inside of the 86.
Yes, sir, up front, there he goes. Cody Welch, folks, coming towards 10 laps to go. You know the guy people want to see. Hometown race, we've tried not to jinx him too much, but folks, it is getting close here for the 85 car. 84, getting a big push from Lacey. He could be a dark horse to win this race too. And Nickerson starting to go backwards. The 2 car down to 6th with his teammate trying to take over 6th position and lead the GFR stable. Whoa, Greenwell into Lakey. Greenwell out of nowhere. I talked about him as a potential contender for the win tonight. Don't forget, I think he took tires late. He is really quick right now with 10 laps to go. Could be another dark horse. Guys, we had no idea would be in the equation. Fighting up front here right now.
Got out of a bit of a rocket, and another guy that still has some really great speed in that race car, despite the damage, is the 1 car of Ricky Hart has found his teammates, the 15 and the 2. He's making some hay here despite all that damage. That's very surprising, but that is great for his championship hopes. So we'll see if he can continue to capitalize on that. Another guy that started 2nd there has dropped back all the way to the back of this top 10 pack is Eddie Haggy. He's having some trouble on this restart. I think he's trying to work with his teammate there of Sean Britt, but it's not quite working out for him. He's going to go 3 wide with Nickerson. But man, this is certainly shaping up to be a crazy finish as Benjamin Lacey is coming here in a hurry.
The 7 car trying to get by the 86, the Filming the Wild, number 7, going to get his teammate. He wants to give him that help, but Greenwell again going to the bottom, 83 and the 84, really throwing a wrench in the plans of all of these guys up front, especially the playoff drivers, because Wilson's been up here. The 83 car, not so much, but making good pace, making good time here as the 2 continues to fall back. Remember, doesn't need this race, but wants to help his teammate Christopher Hamilton, who now becomes the leader in the GFR stable, up there in 5th. Could this be a sudden, quiet win that puts him in the championship for the first time and gets him his first win? He's certainly up there in contention.
And everybody's swapping back and forth, and if it's me right now, I just want to be in that top lane and ride for the next couple laps. It may hurt me in the long run, but man, look at Jason Greenwell absolutely applying the pressure to these guys, using up the 7 car of Benjamin Lacey. That's going to upset this pack, and everybody's going to gather back up here, but the 85 car is saying, you boys keep racing, I'm trying to win this thing.
Yeah, he just totally threw an elbow to the 83 car on the 7. Doesn't pay off here for this lap, but coming to 7 laps to go, folks. Get buckled in. Here we go. Potential wreck. Is somebody going backwards? Who was that? That was Wilson. Paul Wilson. What a save to keep us green here. Holy cow, you saw him in the background get wiggled up, washed up a little bit, and he saves it to keep us green. A race that's been so promising for the 86 car, and he finds himself out of contention. Here comes Greenwell on new tires. Could a first-time winner out of nowhere be the one to take the potential win away from the hometown boy? The 85 and 83 into it. 85 car comes out with relatively little damage, but Jason Greenwell was so quick in the 1 car. Ricky Hart Jr. and another wreck, his 3rd of the night. Another playoff contender finds himself in an incident. Foster, I think, got through it okay, but caution number 7 on the night, and potentially the most crucial of all of them, the 85 car with a little bit of damage. Will he have to pit? It seems like destiny at this point here, Chris. Every race, he is up there in contention. He's leading. He's controlling the field, and something goes wrong. Caution number 7, and Welch and Greenwell both in it.
Yeah, the 85 car, based on his commentary there on the radio, he is not happy about that one. He definitely wanted this one, and that's certainly disappointing to see. But look who is the leader right now. The 98 of Sean Britt is the leader of this race. Didn't see that one coming. As we're seeing these guys kind of slow down, they got a little too far ahead of the pace car. They're probably going to have to stop here.
Just looking at the replay here, courtesy of Butt Kicker, didn't look like an obvious, example of there was too much in play there. Besides, I think just two guys fighting for the same piece of real estate. Did look like Greenwell washed up there a little bit on the racetrack. Maybe Welch got caught out. Coming down pit road, though, he thinks he has enough damage to justify the quick repair. 6 laps to go here, Chris. I don't think it's a bad choice. Might as well take it.
Might as well take it if you can, and if you can get that car tuned up. We saw that the 1 of Hart had speed and the 8 of Kevin Foster had speed, so we'll have to see how that works out for him. But the 98 and the 44 up front here late in this race, and behind them we have the 2 and the 7 of Nick Nickerson. I mean, I didn't see this coming, and we saw that the 2 of Nickerson was pretty dominant with his teammate there throughout this race, but some big contenders, big names out here late, and I think we're shaping up for that green-white checkered, and you have to ask yourself, have we had enough caution laps for these guys to save fuel for that?
I just want to keep us updated here, Chris. Cody Welch, looking at his Skype, he's left his sim. His car's parked. Doesn't appear to have a quick repair. The damage still on that race car. He's left the sim. He's not at his chair right now. He's still in the session, but he has physically left his rig. And I'm just like, what do you say at this point? It is truly one of the craziest driver histories in the history of racing that I've been around here. I mean, Britt and Guzik going to be such a fun restart here. Two guys both looking for their first career win. Lacey looking for a crucial win for his playoffs. Same with Haggy there. Nickerson could just absolutely steal another one for the second time in 2 weeks. But I mean, the legacy of Cody Welch here in this series, Chris, is just the definition of heartbreak.
And I compare, Cody Welch's bad luck to this point in his bandit racing career, kind of like the luck of Kyle Larson early in his career with Chip Ganassi Racing, and where he was just finding himself second, and then once he broke through, that was it. Became a Cup champion, and I think that Benjamin Lacey, Cody Welch is a future champion of this league, and obviously he won't be in contention for that this year, but that is certainly in the cards for him. He is so talented, and obviously the frustration is there because he always finds himself in these positions, but his tenacity to stick with it's just incredible. But obviously he wanted this one, hometown track. He's helping sponsor the race for this one with his teammate, and yeah, that's one that you definitely want back. But that's racing, and I heard it was a little bit of net code over the radio, so he's obviously upset about that, and there's not much you can really do but regather and go on to next week. So hopefully you can put it in victory lane next week. I'd love to hear that call one last time to see if we can get Cody Welch in victory lane, but it's definitely not going to happen here tonight.
To potentially see it in your last race, Chris, what a magical moment that would be. We're going to certainly hope. Cody back in his rig, but I don't think back on the racetrack. And we're going to check the Skype camera with both your front two pole sitters here on the front row. Sean Britt going to start alongside Dawson Guzik. We got the Pottsville, Pennsylvania native, and we got the Rulesville, North Carolina native, both taking us to the green here ahead of Nate Lacey and Nickerson with a combined 40 race wins between the two of them. The front two combined 0. This could be huge for one of these drivers. Going to be 3 to go here at Michigan. We promised you guys a good finish. It won't have the 85, but it will be one to watch. Here we go. Sorry, Pottstown. Let's correct that. Thank you here in the chat. Pottstown, Pennsylvania, the hometown of Guzik. But here we go. 2-car already pulling out of line. Better momentum on the start, and Nickerson trying to make it another absolute theft here of a race win. Back-to-back weeks. 98 car getting a little bit washed out here by the 7. Should maintain the lead, but 7 car going to come give him some help.
Yeah, don't forget that you have 3 teammates right here. 98, 44, and 97. And the 31 of Connor Gibson. They're all locked together here. Let's see who's going to help who. Oh, I'm sorry, the 7 car is up there. Let's see who's going to help who here. This is absolutely crucial for a lot of these guys, especially the 97 and the 7 car. As we're seeing the 2 car, he's going to lose momentum here. Got a little tight out of that corner. 7 car is definitely going to make a move on this 98. It's just a matter of when.
Here
we
comes
go.
the 31. 31 car. Don't forget, he's never won in this series. He was the guy this year known for consistency. Only picked up top 10 performances. Never got a top 5 till the playoffs. Might find a win here in the second round. But Lacey, guy who can benefit most of anybody. Although Haggy currently below the cutoff line, would be in the round of 4. Would make his first championship 4 appearance with a win here. So much to play for in the last lap. Here comes the 2 car again. Where did he come from?
As we're coming to the white flag, I'm going to let you take the call here. This is such a crucial lap. The 7 car is trying to set up this 98. He's going to get a huge run Off the 97. No, the 97 bails.
98 car, Britt looking for that first career win. Here comes the 97 to the bottom. He got a win in the second round, or the first round to walk himself into this round. Here comes Haggy, here comes the 7. Both playoff guys. Hamilton looking for his first win too. So much potential for a first career win. Down to turn number 3, the 98 car. This means nothing for him in the grand scheme of the playoffs. Can he get it done? The 7 car to the bottom with the 98 block, side by side. Final time off of 4, 125 laps, 250 miles. Brings us to this moment. The 7 rides into the 15 and to the line. He didn't get the playoff spot he wanted, but finally, 5 races in, he wins it. Sean Britt, finally, with that first career win he's been looking for so long, and he does it here. You can see the emotion on Skype right now. We'll show you the scene, but boy howdy, he's done it. Finally, a dream realized for the 98 car. The Rulesville, North Carolina native wins it at Michigan.
Wow, what a moment for him. You're going to see some congratulations out of his teammate there, the 97. And you can hear a lot of emotion here in this race chat here. You're hearing all the drivers congratulating him on that well-deserved win. That was a long time coming.
Yeah, this is what he's looked for so long. We see him on Skype. You see the fist pumps. He's finally done it. The exhaustion on his face after 250 miles. Getting bumps here from Lacey. You know he wanted that. Hamilton came 3/10 away. And, I mean, Chris, would you have ever imagined that a guy leading on the last lap at a race as chaotic as this would bring it to the checkered? That was incredible race management from the 98.
Yeah, that was some definitely some handy racecraft there, and we'll see if he knows how to do a burnout. Let's see what his skills doing a burnout are.
There we go. Pretty nifty. Gonna take the diagonal. Just get the frontwards burnout. I want to show live here on Skype. He's got the hands moving. He's been looking forward to this one for a while. Got the full spin. Gonna bring it here to the line. We're gonna go right here into the interview, folks. We're not gonna waste any time because the emotions are gonna be pretty raw right now, and we want to hear all of them. We're bringing them right in the broadcast booth here. Sean Britt is getting ready for his interview, folks. We will keep you updated on where the points sit after tonight's race. We'll give you the overall race order here for the second interview. But tonight, first things first, we're bringing in your race winner. Sean Britt, we don't mean to interrupt the burnouts, my good man, but welcome to the broadcast booth. First interview of the night. You have become a winner in the Bandit Racing League. The 98 car gets it at Michigan, my man. Just what are the emotions right now as you do the burnouts? How excited are you? I saw you across the line. You must be in your element right now.
Oh, I'm excited, and I want you to go to Skype because I got something planned that I've been wanting to do.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah!
Holy cow! We're just gonna. Oh boy, we gotta fix this angle here. We're gonna put you in the corner. Boy howdy, there we go. My goodness, my man, this is everything I dreamed it would be for you. It is such a good race to win. It was competitive from start to finish. You controlled the race there at the front in the last couple laps. And I said to Chris, what did we think the odds would be that the guy leading on the white flag actually takes it to the win? How did you control that race in the final couple miles?
It was just trying to run at where the most grooved was going to be at. I took tires like at the tail end of that stint, and there's just so much stuff going on that's going through my head, but it was just running that top line on the back stretch and then just going on the bottom and just keeping everyone from passing me below.
Yeah, you can just see the emotions. But I know the feeling. I know from my karting days back in the day what it means to have a goal that you've wanted for so long, and you've been so deserving of. I think we can. Chris and I will both agree. You should have been in these playoffs if it weren't for a few missed races. This could have been the race based on your performance in round one that would have put you into the championship four. But you can't control the circumstances. All you can control is your driving, and you're getting props from guys in the YouTube chat already. The defense there at the end was just beautiful. You played the race as it came to you, and that's what you're going to have to do tonight. And tonight as the cap off to so many podiums, so many close wins, but couldn't get it done. Do you think this is just a case of for how many times you did your part, but the luck wouldn't come to you? Is this thing's kind of coming full circle, you feel like?
Yeah, and I know the camera won't be able to capture it, but I'm actually kind of tearing up a little bit. This paint scheme that I've been running for the past couple weeks is my granddad's go-kart. Um, he's been he's been kind of he's been going through a lot of stuff, and I wanted to do something to honor him, and that's what next race is going to be. Richmond, home place. I'm just so glad that I'm able to go and win it here. I wanted to. I was in the last couple of laps. I was thinking, am I gonna be able to do this like Dale Jr. did in 2012? And I was able to do it.
Yeah, this is incredible, Sean. Chris and I, on behalf of everybody in the series, but particularly up here, we've been pulling for you for so long, and that last lap, that call to know that it was finally coming true for you. Finally, you're getting what you've deserved for a long time. It's a magical moment. This is what I love as a broadcaster. But man, it feels like a waste of time for me to be talking here. This is your time. I know you got a lot to say. So in regards to any shout outs, anything you want to say, anything as the race winner, this is a time you've deserved for a long time, and now anything you want to say, this is your time for a reason.
I just want to thank mom and dad, uh, mama, papa, Grammy, granddaddy, and my sister. Just I've been racing for sim racing for a good bit, and it's just I've always wanted to win at something big, and I'm glad that I was able to do this. I want to thank LIT Racing Oils, Apex Sim Racing. I want to thank you two, Chris and Marshall, for the broadcast that you guys always put in for week in and week out. Thank Bill and all of the admins for Bandit Racing League.
We are so happy for you, Sean. Like, genuinely, from myself and Chris, this has been a long time in the making, and it happens, and we're so glad before whatever the future holds, we were able to see this moment and share it with you. You have so many people that I'm sure that are going to be congratulating you after the race, as YouTube chat already is. So go out there, go celebrate, go enjoy. You got the sponsored race next week at Richmond. We'll be talking to you then. I know that one's going to mean just as much, but to go into it as the defending race winner, magical for you, Sean. I'm so happy for you, my man. Enjoy your week, and congratulations, winner at Michigan. Oh my goodness, these are the moments that make me love doing what I do, and in this role here, Chris, and just you can just hear. I don't think we've ever heard that much raw emotion as we just did there in the interview. I mean, that was special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously we've touched on it before. Such a deserving race win for a driver that definitely should have been in these playoffs, and so happy for him. You know, obviously the circumstances that he has there, where it definitely means a little bit more. So happy for him to have the opportunity to put the car in victory lane, and again, such an exciting finish, right? So I mean, he had to hold off some very impressive drivers and drivers that have won multiple times in this league, and he just defended against prior champions of the league, and we saw him get into the wall halfway through the race, and I thought that was his race. I'm pretty sure he was fighting to stay on the lead lap there at one point. So just the tenacity to be able to stay in it and put yourself in position to win, and obviously come out on the right side of things. It's such an incredible feat for him, and obviously happy for him, his family, and his teammates that he was able to do that. And man, you got to can't help but think what it would have happened if he actually did transfer to the playoffs, and where would he be at this point. And yeah, man, it's great to see him get that chip off of his shoulder and say, yeah, I know I do deserve to be here.
Yeah, it's such a deserving moment. It is one that I love to see as somebody who loves this league and the guys in it. It's a great moment. It makes the playoffs interesting, but from a personal note tonight, it's just such a great moment to see somebody so deserving get what's been coming to them for a while. So amazing moment here. We're going to bring it right into Chris Hamilton. I'll take Chris here and bring the 15 car into the broadcast booth here tonight. Chris for Hamilton. You got me and Chris up here in the broadcast booth?
Yeah, I got you.
Welcome in, Chris, my man. It was exactly the finish that you and the team needed on behalf of GFR here tonight to just keep you guys in the competitive spots here in the playoffs. It wasn't the win that's been coming for a long time, the same as it has for Sean, but it was another podium, and it was a really good points night. And it didn't seem like it was going to go the way of GFR for a long time tonight. You and the teammates there was good pace from the 8 and the 2, but late everything seemed to fly on its head. How did you have to kind of reshift your focus here after that crazy run of cautions we had with about 20 to go?
Just survive. I was came close on a lot of those cautions, and it was way too close for comfort. I don't know how I didn't hit it. But just keeping the car clean and then putting the car up in the top line. Let the other guys make the moves, and then on the straights when they were caught up down below, that's where I put my car in, and that's how I was able to get up front. I needed that. I honestly needed this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it definitely, it seemed like one of those situations where, you know, things are always possible here in the playoffs. You're never out of it until you're out of it, especially as we've seen with like Haggy last round winning late in the playoffs. But you definitely want to stay above the cutoff. And I was talking about earlier in the race, you've always been in a healthy spot this year. You were great in the regular season points. You've been great so far through the playoffs, staying consistent. But you are fighting with your teammates here. We were updating the points throughout the race. You and Foster were back and forth. You and Ricky are going to be back and forth now after this race. Talk a little bit about the team dynamic and how does this feel to be the guy that after a race where Foster and Nickerson were quick most of the night, you're the guy coming out on top for the team here tonight, representing those big points?
I love my teammates. Don't get me wrong; they have taught me a lot this season. But at the end of the day, it's either between me or them making it in. I hate to say that, and I would love to have GFR, all four of us, to make it. But it's going to be a dogfight between all of us. I know they would take an inch. They won't take an inch from me either. If they're going to put themselves in the position and at my detriment, then so be it. I want to make the playoff four. Bristol was horrible. That 15 lap penalty killed my race. I don't know how I finished on the lead lap last week, but I am gunning for that lap, one of those four spots. That's the goal.
And tonight, you currently coming out of the race. We'll give you the exact situation here in a moment for the fans at home. You now sit 5 points above the cutoff in P3 in the championship. You're 2 races away from making your first ever championship four, alongside likely some of your teammates. And with Richmond and Phoenix coming up the next 2 weeks, shorter tracks. I know Nick, your teammate, really big fan of Phoenix. What sort of strategies? What sort of confidence do you have in mind for two kind of one-ish mile racetracks, the shorter tracks? I think the 15 car will have that pace that we saw for race winning week after week pace early on in the season.
Yeah, we'll take it one race at a time as usual and put myself up at and what my teammates have over me is they know a little bit more about pit strategy than I do. I kind of just follow along, and that's what I've done, just follow. And that's part of the reason why I've been behind them most of the time, and I'm following what they're doing. So this last one, they were the ones making the moves, and I was doing something different, and it worked. So don't get me wrong, I love the teammates, and 785 Racing, they are a joy, an absolute joy to race against. But I know it's getting crunch time, and I did not put on the show that I wanted to last week, and this week we definitely pulled it off.
Yeah, you absolutely did. You got a chance to make up for it. You capitalized really well late, really good pace all the way through, and now you're the guy to watch here for the team heading into the last couple rounds to make it above that cutoff. So you got amazing run there at the end. Again, heartbreakingly close, but Britt just really good defensive job, and you, I think, just ran out of time there. A couple more laps, it would have had a better shot. But throw it to you here, Chris. You're always well spoken up here in the broadcast booth, and I know you got a lot of people supporting you on your personal side. So yeah, feel free to mention any sponsors or any shout outs you want to talk about as tonight's second place finisher.
First of all, huge shout out to Geezer Authentics for coming on board this season. I know I haven't gotten a chance to talk about them too much, but if whoever your favorite driver is, whether it's 3FR Racing, whether it's 785 Racing, Young Guns, whoever the Guziks, whoever you like, go to geezerauthentics.com. You can get any kind of merch for either yours truly. I'm actually wearing the merch right now, or someone else of your favorite driver out there in the season. Huge thank you to Bill for putting on a great season. This is a very competitive league, and really brings out the best in some of these drivers. Sometimes the worst, but mostly the best. And huge thank you to everything on GFR. They do a phenomenal job, and thank you, Marshall, for the broadcast.
No, it's always enjoyable when we get again really good races like tonight, and to see guys like you and Britt, really hardworking individuals, really deserving guys, get their chance of being in the booth, get their chance in the spotlight. Makes my job so much more fun. So congratulations, Chris. It was an incredible run. You are looking good heading into the rest of the playoffs, and I know that win, just like it was finally the time for tonight for Britt. That first win for the 15's coming soon, right?
Sounds good. And one more shout out to Ryan McCauley. He did the beautiful paints that you see each and every week here on the Full Saiyan Racing Network.
Yeah, they are really stellar. Your paint, one of my favorites. So thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for always being, again, really well spoken, really good performance tonight. P2 tonight at Michigan.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
That'll wrap it up here tonight for Mr. Christopher Hamilton. Again, just a really, really good finish tonight. Did exactly what he needed to do to put himself in a favorable spot in the points. And now we head over to Benjamin Lacey, who, contrary to this graphic, did not finish second at Michigan, finished in third position. Is your final interview, and I believe he's available, so we're going to throw him down here with Chris Ferreira. I'll bring him in the booth, and Chris, you'll speak to Benjamin Lacey, your third place finisher, who almost represented the team sponsor tonight with a win.
Hey, Benjamin, it's Chris and Marshall up in the booth. Got a copy?
I got you guys. What's going on?
Hey, man. So valiant effort tonight. I know it didn't quite work out there with your teammate, but you guys were chugging along there for a good portion of that race. Just tell me how after that pit cycle there, how you got yourself back in contention, and you were just inches away from winning that thing at one point.
Yeah, slid through a pit box. That's what put me back kind of in no man's land for a little bit, and then Bill did me a favor by wrecking himself. I saw that one happen. I was like, oh, I think that's gonna pull it. But you know, sucks that it happened. At the same time, I think it would have been Cody and Paul at that point. But I think the universe doesn't really care for Cody winning races too much anymore, because my gosh, seems like something always happens. But getting toward the end of that race there, first of all, just congrats to Sean. That was a heck of a win. I was trying to pull a similar move of what I did at Auto Club, send it low into 3 and 4, and he just decided to pinch it a little bit, and that was that. And then Chris was able to get around the outside for second place.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a tough break for Cody, but you know, stellar way to perform, bounce back in a performance with the 785 group there for yourself. And you know, we talk about Cody being a future champion. Speaking of championship hopes, I think it will factor in that you will be probably second in the seeding and the points here. We'll review that shortly with the fans here at home. But speaking of championship hopes, you know, you're sitting pretty good right now. If we do factor the math is that you're in second. So how are you going to keep building on this, and what are you going to do to make sure you're in the fight for Homestead?
Just keep plugging away. I think, you know, knock on wood, we've had some good momentum, so hopefully we can just keep that up. And it just feels like I'm like on the doorstep of getting that win, and then just something just kind of pulls up a little bit here and there. You know, Cody and I kind of have similar. His is just a lot longer than what I've got, obviously. But I like last week at Bristol, I kind of felt that I had a pretty good shot to win. Just things didn't quite fall the right way for it to work. And then similar story this week, just didn't quite fall the right way, but I had a pretty good shot at it. So hopefully we just keep some good momentum, and maybe next week or Phoenix can come out and get a win.
Well, I hope I didn't jinx you tonight, because you were my race pick, because I see Michigan and Auto Club sharing a lot of similarities. So I hope I wasn't the jinx tonight. Nonetheless, hoping you the best of luck going forward. You know, hopefully we talk to you next week up here in the booth, and you're the first interview we have. But nonetheless, now it's your time to get any shout outs you want in, and you know, wrap up your P3 finish tonight.
Yeah. Film in the Wild. I appreciate them coming on board. YouTube.com/filminthewild. Give them a check out, give them a shout out, tell them where you're from, tell them Bandit sent you from Ben. That'd be cool. There's another side little project they call Real Earth Films. That's a little more probably their main production that's going to be coming in through. So keep in tune for that. That's a pretty cool development coming through. And then all of our sponsors for our league, you know, Perfect Shine Auto Spa, Butt Kicker, Apex, you know, Full Send Racing, Chris, Marshall. Thank you for you guys doing that. I might be missing a few, but one of my most important sponsors is my fiance, Raina. So appreciate you, love you, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Oh, we certainly love that. And thank you again for participating in tonight, and hopefully you can keep that momentum going forward, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
And there you go. It is always a pleasure to hear from the guys post-race, get a sense of how they were feeling about tonight's festivities, and obviously very different perspectives here, Chris, because a lot of guys ran very different races. But in the end, the conclusion we can come to is that your winner is Sean Britt, gets his first career victory at Michigan. And there up top, you see one more time. It'll scroll along the top here so you can see the final results. But Britt, Hamilton, Lacey, final three going to be your podium here at Michigan. And top five, again, back in the top five is Connor Gibson. Hamilton, his second of the season. Really good performance for him, getting that top end performance finish that we've been looking for him for a while. So we are going to go real quick here through the finale. It's been a long broadcast night. We're going to send you guys home, but and very quickly here, we're just going to one more time go through your sponsors, and then we'll let you go here, Chris, and we'll head off. But first of all, we want to talk about your playoff bracket here heading into tonight. Here is your update, courtesy of Sim Racer Hub, your source for all things Bandit points. 12 points to the good, going to be Benjamin Lacey. You were right, Chris. He will sit second after tonight's event. Christopher Hamilton, we also interviewed him, is going to be 5 up after finishing in the runner-up position tonight here at Michigan. He'll be 5 above the cutoff line. Then Eddie Haggy, thought we might even not see him in this race tonight. Got in the session late, comes home for a good performance, and will be 4 to the good ahead of Ricky Hart Jr., who's 4 below after tonight's race at Michigan. He'll be trying to fight his way in, as will Foster, his teammate at GFR Racing. He's 12 points back in the 7th seed. Right now, Mark Allen Bivens then would sit in 6th. He's 11 points back of the cutoff. And Brett Guzik, he's pretty much going to be win or he's out. He is 22 spots back with 2 DNF finishes to start off his round. So actually, we'll throw it right here to you, Chris. I'll give it to you. After tonight's race, the way that sits, Guzik needs to win and you're in. The GFR guy's kind of struggling, other than Hamilton, who's even still just barely above the cutoff. Interesting storylines tonight. We'll get you. What's your biggest storyline you think you should take away in your final race that we'll see at next week at Richmond? And then finally, final thoughts to wrap up for tonight.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is BC Sim Sport tonight. Obviously, on 2 different sides of this here, you have Brett Guzik not having the performance he wants for the second week in a row here, another DNF, and that's going to put him in a hole for going into the next 2 races of this round. But one thing that did help him tonight is that actually his teammate that isn't in the playoffs, Sean Britt, actually won the race, and that was his first career win here in the Bandit Racing League, and it's certainly an emotional one and a well-deserved one. So that actually helps him, because that kept the likes of a Kevin Foster or Eddie Haggy absolutely locking themselves in, which would readjust the kind of the points format there and jump guys up that were ahead of him. So I think that actually allows him a little bit more wiggle room in order to maybe even point his way in, depending on the size of the fields that we get the next couple weeks. So I think that 04 car will definitely have a lot of speed in these next couple weeks, and he's going to definitely put the practice in. So he'll definitely be a threat these next couple weeks. But obviously the big storyline here, Sean Britt, man, what a performance out of him to clutch that in the last couple laps there on that essentially a green-white checkered, and obviously so happy for him and that group. And it's just so nice to see these kind of emotional moments here on a essentially a video game. I know people hate to say that about this because it is a simulator, but just how much it means to people, and that just goes to show you how difficult this league is and the kind of caliber of performance we have in these drivers here at this league. So super happy to see him win one of his first races, and I'm sure it's the first of many. But to kind of wrap up here, obviously we talked about it. We have one more race to go here with the tandem of myself and Marshall up here in the booth. So make sure everybody that's still watching, make sure you tune in next week to kind of get our final broadcast together. That'll certainly be a good one and one to remember. So with that being said, make sure you reach out to us on the Facebook and Instagram, Bandit Racing League on Facebook, at Bandit Racing League on Instagram. And once again, thank you, Marshall, for the opportunity to be up here in the booth and just have a blast calling these races with you.
Absolutely. The pleasure, as always, is all mine, Chris. It's always been fun. It's going to be heartbreaking to see you leave the series next week, but we're going to go out on a high. We know that. We'll make Richmond a fun one for you guys. And speaking of which, our series schedule here, last few weeks, remember, we are missing the August 3rd race at Phoenix, or August 2nd, I should say. Other than that, the schedule is correct. Next week, actually, no, it's out of order. So Bristol, then Michigan. That's why there may have been some confusion in the last 2 weeks, but we're good the rest of the year. Richmond is indeed next week on the 26th of July. 125 laps before our race at Phoenix locks in our final 4 that will race for a championship at Homestead Miami Speedway. And that is going to be the rest of our season. 3 races left in season 11 and 1 race left with our very own Chris Ferreira. With that, though, folks, we're going to take you to our series sponsors. We're going to blitz through this. I blitzed through it last week. We're going to blitz through it again. Bandit Racing League on iRacing.com is the simulator we use here each and every week, and Apex Sim Racing is a great way to get involved with iRacing. Custom sim racing products, wheels, button boxes, pedal decks, anything you can imagine. Same with Moza Racing, our other premier sponsor for sim racing accessories. They each have their own flavor, each have their own product line. Moza Racing, premier steering wheels, and a variety of other products. They're great sponsors, and we want to thank Apex and Moza. both official affiliates of the series. We would recommend either of their products, and that is a nonpartisan opinion from me, a sim racing fan. So go check their websites out below and see their stuff in person. Thank Perfect Shine Auto Spa on behalf of GFR Racing for sponsoring this series. As always, Track Camps are gourmets, your place for custom track cameras here on iRacing. They have the cool camera angles you see here that give us dynamic views of the racing action. Just be sure to go to Track Camps are gourmets and get their explicit permission for use for broadcast. Speaking of broadcast, first ever broadcaster here, EvanWallMedia.com. You see him in the any graphics you see here, including this one on screen. Thank you to Evan for everything he's done for the series. Then we have GeezerAuthentics.com, your place for custom iRacing merchandise, sponsoring Christopher Hamilton and a variety of other drivers. If you want some iRacing merchandise from your favorite Bandit Racing League drivers or the series as a whole, go check out GeezerAuthentics.com. SimRacerHub.com is your place for all our points. You can access them courtesy of our website at BanditRacingLeague.com. So check out the points before we even show them on the broadcast right after the race. Always feel free to check them on SimRacerHub.com and go to our league under the league page. Butt Kicker finally is our final sponsor, Premier iRacing Accessories. They give you a bit of a bass boosted kicker underneath your seat to feel that authentic rumble of a real race car in your sim. One of the coolest ways you can enhance your product at home. Folks, it has been an absolute pleasure here. We thank one more time 785 Racing, particularly Cody Welch, tonight's race sponsor. Heartbreaking the way things ended for him. We've run out of words to say it. He has all of our hopes for the future that, like Sean Britt tonight, he will get that moment he's been looking for so long. Same with his teammate. Really great run from the Running the Wild number 7 car. Filming the Wild, I should say. And hopefully we see one of those two guys in victory lane on behalf of tonight's sponsor before the end of the season. With that, folks, I am, as always, Marshall Crocker Jr., joining alongside me as he does every week up until next week in his final race. It is Chris Ferreira. We are signing off for tonight. On behalf of Full Send Racing Network, the Bandit Racing League, thank you for watching the Michigan 125 here, presented by 785 Racing at Michigan International Speedway. We will see you all next week at Richmond. And in the meantime, have a great one, and we will enjoy the rest of Season 11 of the Bandit Racing League in only 7 nights' time. See you soon, folks.